Welcome to As Raw Live. Broadway will be joining me shortly. I guess it turns out that Monday's my live time. You know what I mean? It's time I'm going to go live is on Monday. You know why? Because it fits better in Broadway's schedule. That's how I run my shows. I run my shows on whatever fits better in Broadway's schedule. Let's see here. Let me send this invite. I send this invite on Twitter, so in case anyone else wants to join in on the conversation. Okay, let's see here. So we got Broadway yet. We don't have him yet. He'll come. He'll be on here shortly. I want to check my text, but that would mess up the screen at the back, and then I just feel like that's too much information on the back behind my head on the podcast, our live podcast. But yeah, so we'll have people join in. We'll if it's just me and Broadway, that's cool. Or if other people join in, that's cool. Whatever it is, we'll have a good conversation, boxing talk. There's a lot to talk about. Good fights this weekend. Carlos is here. What's up, Carlos? I'm gonna put the thing right here, Carlos. If you want to join, let me put this right here. See, I welcome conversation. See, I like to hear myself talk, of course, but I welcome conversation. We have Eubank Jr. versus Benn, which I think is well, I know it's a big fight, like in Europe. I know that's a big fight, like in England, but I think it's a big fight just in general, and I think it could actually be a very, very good fight, very exciting fight. Benn's style just leads to exciting fights. Eubank has a style that could be very exciting, but also like when he goes to defensive mode, he's not the best at it to where it's like he's going to be able to move all night and not get touched. Benn's going to be able to get to him. And Eubank's the kind of guy that when you get into with that style, he's going to react. And if he gets reacting to Benn's offense, I think we're going to have some explosive trading. I think both guys will get hurt in the fight. But here's Broadway. Let me add Broadway. Broadway, you hear me?
Yeah, I hear you loud and clear, man. How you doing, my brother?
Very good. I said that I guess Mondays are my lives now because that fits Broadway's schedule better. That's why I said I base myself on your schedule now.
It does. Unfortunately, I can't go live as far as my my whole setup, but I could do this, and you seem not to mind.
So. No, I like it. I like it.
Yeah, if we're gonna be talking boxing, and I like talking boxing with you because me and you, we tend to have enough disagreements where it's entertaining, and we not that we disagree on everything. So I'd rather do it on one of our pages where we creating content as opposed to just having fun on the space.
I love it. We got to talk about. So we'll talk about the fights this weekend, but I think the main one that we need to talk about right now is breaking news that happened today.
Yes,
and I think it affects a Dominican fighter in a big way, and it's very actually positive news for him if it plays out the way that a lot of people are expecting it plays out. And that is Ray Vargas, in a surprise, is moving up from 126 to 130 to fight for the WBC belt, the vacant WBC belt. Now, before he moved up, it was supposed to be O'Shaquie Foster probably versus Oscar Valdez, right? Because Conceição is number 2, but I imagine he would drop since his loss to Shakur. Now with Vargas stepping in, he will fight O'Shaquie Foster for the vacant WBC and basically eliminating Top Rank of any opportunity of getting this belt, keeping it on the PBC side if Ray Vargas wins, and a future matchup for Hector Garcia, who we were just talking about.
Yeah.
I bet my mic got muted. What are your thoughts on this?
I'm like, what the hell happened?
Bro. Finish it. Oh yeah, no. So that's huge news, right? It was we were talking about like, oh, Hector Garcia, who's he going to fight? What's the match that makes sense? And now Vargas has put himself, really very smartly, putting himself in a good spot at both 130 and 126. Because I did tweet at Jake Donovan, asked him, is that mean he's dropping the belt? And they said that wasn't. He said to be determined. So that's not for sure yet that he drops the belt. Ooh, Artman the Great listening in. That's First time I've seen Artman listen in. I appreciate Artman. I was about to work any research for this one. I wish I did if I knew you were tuning in. Yeah. So what do you think?
Well, like you said, I do like the fact that there's an opportunity for unification with if Vargas wins, which I think he does. I do think that Foster is a good fighter. I think it's an easy win, especially if this is his first fight. Ray Vargas, that is his first fight at 130. I don't think this is his gimme fight, but I would favor Vargas. And like you said, I do look at this as a good opportunity in the future for Garcia, who doesn't have an obvious opponent. One that really makes sense for his career. Like, it's not like he has a big money fight or unification fight. Lumen is like, as of right now, everybody keeps asking me when I'm on these Twitter spaces, hey man, I know you connected with Garcia. Like, who's he gonna fight next? And it's kind of like, I don't know. Not even he doesn't even know. So
there was nothing that like was clear standing out, right? There's nothing really clear standing out for him to fight. I mean, like I said, we kept bringing up the Colbert rematch because that was really the only name that really stood out at that division that they have on their side that could make sense.
Yeah.
But the fact that the title could stay there on his side and they can unify him, that's huge news. That's freaking, that worked out perfectly. And it's actually just a master maneuvering by PBC. And something that kind of Top Rank is pretty good at is maneuvering themselves to get titles when they're going to go vacant or, put themselves in the right position. And PBC just outclassed them in this one. I mean, PBC just did some chess moves on this one to get about at 130 or try at least to get about 130.
Yeah. And again, I do think I'm actually going to contact Garcia tomorrow. It's a little too late to contact him today, but I'm going to contact him tomorrow about setting up an interview or just having a conversation in case, I don't know what's his schedule like and how busy he is. But I definitely want to tell him and educate him because, I'm not sure how closely he follows the boxing news and the politics of boxing and how things work. But I definitely want to interview him and tell him, hey, man, stay at 130. There's a real possibility that he can become undisputed because I don't know if you got the news. Joe Cordina, who holds the IBF belt.
Yeah, he pulled out.
He pulled out, and the IBF stripped him. Now Rakhimov is going to fight. Forget the guy's name.
Yeah, I have it right here. Wait one second. Rakhimov is going to fight. Oh, Belfort. What the heck's his name? Not Belfort. Barrett. Yeah, Zelfa Barrett. That makes more sense.
So I'm not sure who's he's.
They're both Matchroom.
Yeah,
Zelfa
but
Barrett.
I don't think he's. If I'm not mistaken, I've never seen him fight, but I'm pretty sure he's a less tough opponent than Cordina would be. Am I off base saying that?
I think so. Yes. Zelfa Barrett hits pretty hard. I remember he was Zelfa Barrett was upset. Let me pull him up real quick. I know he had an upset against. I'm trying to think if he was outboxed or knocked out. It's one of those. Let's see, because he's a power puncher himself.
Okay. All right.
Let's see here. Zelfa Barrett was. No, majority decision to Ronnie Clark. So no, Zelfa Bear's been on a good winning streak. So I don't know. I honestly, I never really knew that Cordina was going to be as good as like he looked in his last fight, right? When he landed that big shot. So I think Zelfa Bear might be in line with how good he is. We'll have to see. Let's see how that fight goes out.
Well, all right. Well, fair enough. But what I will say is that I expect Rakhimov to get that win. And Rakhimov is with Egis Klimas. Egis does business with PBC. So that's another belt at 130 that can be positioned for Garcia if let's say the Ray Vargas lose and then Foster takes those belts to Probellum and is not willing to work with people. So he's in a good position. And if both everything lines up, he could easily become a 3-belt unified champion, and then it could make sense to fight for undisputed. Maybe he'll go to maybe PBC or send him an ESPN or vice versa, or even if he just stays with 3 belts, moves up to the lightweight. I'm moving up as a 3-belt unified champion. I'm not moving up as a top contender or a guy who just had a couple good wins. So he's positioned very, very well, and I'm excited because he's the best Dominican boxer right now, regardless of my opinion as to who has the highest potential or who I think hits the hardest, who has the best defense, who has like the same way you have your pound for pound list as resume.
Mm-hmm.
And if we're going by resume, there's no Dominican that even comes close to where Garcia.
No. Yeah, you're right, 100%. Garcia is number one right now, and the thing is too is like me, I don't really care about the belts. I put them like secondhand, but the belts work for a guy like Garcia, right? That probably wouldn't get the spotlight if it weren't for winning the belt, right? For winning, getting an upset, and if he could become undisputed, because he would not have really nothing in his favor as far as like, oh, he has a lot of media attention. He just doesn't have any of those things in his favor. Everything he had to get is basically well earned. There was no really shortcuts for him besides like if you consider taking a late notice fight against a tough opponent, a shortcut. I think that's a really tough thing to do. If he became undisputed with that, I mean, that's a pretty remarkable story, right? Of him becoming undisputed.
Absolutely, he'll be the first. Well, we Dominicans, we had one undisputed fighter in the '60s in the 2-belt era.
Yeah, but not the 4-belt era, which is
not the 3. So he'll be the first in the 3 or 4-belt era to become undisputed. And to be honest, right? So he got that fantastic win against Gutierrez, where he dominated and clearly won that fight. And I'm expecting his numbers to grow. I screenshot his. So I did something where I screenshot his Instagram followers before, right? And I wanted to see how much it was going to grow. It grew like 200 followers. It didn't really do much for his career, to be honest with you. But I feel like if he was to get 3 belts, it you're going to keep getting pressed, keep getting noticed. And I'm having you on my channel. Every chance I get, I'm talking about him on these spaces. He'll start growing, and then he's already the best Dominican, but that would just solidify. Like, I'm the first undisputed champion ever in the belt era or 3-belt era that come out of this country. Like, I hope that does happen.
Yeah, it's an insane story. It's a really crazy story, really good story, and hopefully, it looks like Showtime's positioning themselves. I mean, in PBC, I'm saying, is positioning themselves to make that fight in the future, right? To make that matchup with him and Vargas if Vargas wins, and hopefully they get behind that story, because it's a really one of those improbable stories that no one saw coming, and now look at the opportunity this guy's in. So yeah, I thought that was really cool. Just honestly, just the maneuvering that they did to get to this belt that no one saw coming. No one saw Vargas moving up to take a shot at this vacant belt. But maybe we should have when the Santa Cruz and the Santa Cruz fight fell through the cracks, because it all seemed like they were heading in that direction, and suddenly that fight wasn't happening, and no one could kind of like understand why it wasn't happening, because it was definitely a fight they wanted to make. It was definitely a fight that they were hoping to make, so they didn't have to make the Santa Cruz versus Leigh Wood fight. But when that fight didn't happen, there had been reason, and no one really had it until we found out today.
I mean, but if that's the reason why he moved up, why not fight Brandon Figueroa? That's a good fight. Like, that's a
you talking about for Vargas?
Yes. Like, if you're telling me he just moved up because he wasn't getting the
yeah, I think there's a point where a guy looks at it and he says, like, what's a bigger move for my career? Like, right, because like you can fight Brandon Figueroa, that's a good fight, but that fight's not really going anywhere. Like, that fight's still going to be there for him later, and Figueroa could build himself up a little bit more than just coming off the Fulton loss and then the one fight that he had. But maybe he sees it as like, let him get another win. Maybe where it's like Magsayo, right? If he fights Magsayo, and then he beats, and then I could come back and fight him, or I could come back and fight Leo Santa Cruz if he beats Leigh Wood, or I could fight Hector Garcia. Like, he really just puts himself in a thing where he has so many opportunities. You know what I mean?
No, I get what you're saying. I just look at it like, all right, to me, and we had this conversation, I forget when it was, but to me, the featherweight division is hot. So why'd you leave in the hottest division to jump into the old division?
He might not be leaving, though. Because that's why I asked Jake Donovan, is he dropping the belt? He said that hasn't been determined yet. He might not be leaving. He might just be trying to keep 2 belts at one time in 2 different divisions. He's probably, those guys in those weight classes have to, and especially a guy like Ray Vargas, who isn't a huge name, never probably will be a big name. He has to do things that will make him stand out. And this is something that will definitely make him stand out. If he could start winning at 130 and at 126 and hold both belts at the same time, and that will always constantly have opponents for him, that are coming after him because he'll have to fight mandatories, and mandatories are good for a guy like that. You know what I mean? So
Yeah.
it constantly will have him in the spotlight in a way. So yeah, I don't think he's leaving 126 personally. I don't think he's dropping that belt. I think that they're going to work it out that he could keep that belt, and he's just going to wait for Brandon Figueroa to get another win, or for Leo Santa Cruz to get settle what he got to Leigh Wood, and then fight him.
I mean, hey man, honestly, I mean, as we're talking it out, I'm like, he is a bit boring. Not that's sorry. Excuse me, I did not say that. He is a bit of a boxer, and the 126 is a lot of like offensive fighters. I kind of happy he leaves to 130 so we can get these action fights between these 126 guys, you know. So from a fan's perspective, it probably benefits us for him to move up.
Did you think him and Maxile was pretty exciting? Because I thought that was actually a pretty entertaining fight, him and Maxile. I didn't think that was, you know, what people were expecting as far as like him boxing. So I thought he kind of sat on his stuff a little bit.
You know what's funny? I actually didn't see that fight.
Really? Oh, go back and watch that one. That's a good one.
I had a wedding to go to, so
okay. That
yeah. So I actually missed it, and I actually have it DVR'd. And I saw the first two fights. I saw the Figueroa fight, and I saw the Frank Martin fight. And you know, when you got DVR, you can just pause it, watch it.
Yeah.
I just haven't gotten around to watching it, but now that you're bringing it up, I'll watch it. But I did watch the Frank Martin versus Jackson Mariñez, and
good fight.
Yeah, and Jackson Mariñez, he took that fight on 1 day notice.
And he showed his level in that fight. I thought he looked very good in that fight. I thought he looked very, very good.
He gave Frank Martin trouble.
Yeah.
I don't think he was like, oh, if he wouldn't have got knocked out, he would have won the decision. I don't think it was that close. No. But I do think he listen, to me, he deserves another shot. Yeah, he got knocked out by Coleman. Yeah, he got knocked out by Frank Martin. But based off how he performed against Rowley and how he performed against Frank Martin, I think we shouldn't throw him in the trash, man. Like, that's still somebody we should be given opportunities, considering he took a fight on 1 day notice, man.
Yeah, no, and the thing is that you see these guys, and they're the underdog. They're supposed to lose, right? And they go in there and they're on TV, they're on a card like that's, you know, with the main event that everybody wants to see. And then these dudes will like just be happy losing a decision in that. And I don't understand that, because if you're gonna lose, that's fine. Like, it's fine to lose, but you have to start looking at your boxing like a career, right? And it's like, how am I gonna get paydays for this career? By being entertaining. And even if you lose, but you're entertaining in it, I imagine they put you back on TV. I imagine that they're gonna be like, you know what, that guy, even in a loss, I want to see him again. Because you get like Top Rank recycles the guys that lose all the time. And they recycle the guys that lose, like, at least entertaining, right? At least go for it. Like, I don't understand the guys in the corner just like, okay, well, I would tell them, like, hey, man, like, you trying to fight on TV again? Are you trying to get another opportunity beyond this? Because even if you lose, you got to look like there's something here that maybe someone could build on, or there's something here where people want to see it again, right? Even if you're going to lose again. And these guys, I don't get that. Like, I honestly just, I don't get that thought process.
Let me. This is a perfect example of what you're saying. So my father, he was doing business with this fighter, and I don't know. You know Ivan Redcatch, right?
Yes, I do.
So Ivan Redcatch, he started his career like 14-0 with 14 knockouts. He was 14-0 with 13 knockouts. But one of the one that wasn't a knockout, the other guy got disqualified. So it wasn't like, you know, it went to decision. The other guy disqualified himself. I forgot how. I think he might have bit Redcatch. I could be wrong, but I know he got himself disqualified. So my father's fighter is fighting Redcatch, and he's a journeyman, but he's like one of those tough guys. Like you got to earn your money. And I believe it was an 8-round fight, and I think I had it 5-3. And even the rounds that Redcatch won, he was like, you know, he was still having to earn his money. He took a lot of body shots and overhand rights and stuff like that. And this was a Lou DiBella card. Lou DiBella, after the fight. So long story short, I'm making this story longer than it should be. Long story short, he breaks the streak. The fight goes to decision. Redcatch wins, and Lou DiBella's the promoter, so he gives my father's fighter his check, and gives him another check on top of it. Just like, hey man, I'm glad you didn't come here just for a fucking paycheck and get knocked out in the first round. You came here to like really like, to put on the show. Like it was a really entertaining fight, and he broke the streak, and he tried to win the whole time. So he gave him, I forget how much it was, but it was like an extra 1,000 or 2,000. And this fight was like in December like 10th, so it was right before Christmas. So it was like perfect timing. Like, and I'm pretty sure that's not the first time something like that has happened.
No, that's what I'm saying. Because these guys are putting on cards. They wanted to be entertaining. Like they wanted to be entertaining. And even if you have a guy that's an opponent, you want him to at least take a chance. You know what I mean? These guys that come and they just dance around for 12 rounds and know how to survive. Because that's the thing people don't realize. Like I remember when they were blaming Ryan for the to-go situation. It's like, hey, when a guy's a veteran and he knows how to survive and he knows how to avoid danger, he's really hard to open up. Like he's really hard. Like, oh, I'm gonna find the openings on him. No, like these guys have been doing this for so long. If they choose not to fight, they can almost make a fight not happen. Okay, they could make it very ugly. And that's what happened in that fight. And there's a lot of guys that do that, and I don't understand because I'm like, what's the point? Okay, you'll get this little payday, but don't you want at least to have other opportunities to get more paydays? That's the part I don't get.
I agree. Now, Golden Boy, which was the promoter for that fight, is never gonna give to go another fight.
No. Why would they? He did not earn any more screen time. And I don't think anyone is like, oh, the guy that fought Estrada last, right? I believe his name is I want to say it's like I keep saying Corgi, but I know it's not Corgi. Argy Cortez. I'm pretty sure that's his name.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The fight was in Mexico.
He put an excellent performance on. Even in the loss, he put an excellent performance on. He stood in my mind. I want to see him again. I'm interested in seeing what happens in his career. I want to see him fight the guy that Bam just fought. The guy that Israel Gonzalez. And you know what? The funny thing is, I was like, those guys make a good fight. And I was going to tweet it, but I was like, you know what? Let me look it up because I bet these guys fought before. Just because all those guys in that weight division fight everyone, yes, it would be a rematch if they fought each other, but I want to see it. Put that on DAZN. Like those two guys put on good performances against some of the best guys in the world at that weight division. They didn't go there to lose. They had the whole time they thought they were going to win. There was never a round where they thought, oh, I'm going to lose this fight. Put those guys versus each other and let them continue their career because those are two guys that are going to put on a show. Like that entertainment value, that's going to be there.
Nah, for sure. I agree. I totally agree. There was another guy. It was like this guy's record was like 35-11 or something like that, and he fought on the undercard of Munguia not his last fight, the last fight he had in Mexico, which I think was 2 fights ago.
Okay, yeah, because I remember Cepeda was on the undercard as well.
Yeah. I forget who it was, like who he fought, but he fought like a prospect, and he lost. But one, it was a violent, entertaining fight, and 2, the guy never quit. The guy, and I forget the guy's name. I'm doing a bad job because I'm like, oh,
no. Yeah.
And I'm not remembering the name. But I remember I was on the space while watching, and me, Truth, and Aaron. Those are the two other people that I remember that were on the space while we were watching it, and we were all reacting to it. Oh, and Tracy, we were like, man, I want to see this guy again. Like, listen, man, I understand you're gonna match your fighters up when they're coming up against fighters who are not that good, but if you can match them up with fighters who are not that good but are entertaining, shit, that makes me happy. I'll be the consumer in me. As a consumer of your content, I will be more happy with what you're delivering.
Honestly, like I always thought this, and I don't know why people don't do it. And it's kind of like what I was doing with that other matchup, right? But you could even do it like with like guys that are even lesser than them. If you have a guy that's like, oh, this guy's entertaining, he's gonna keep coming forward, and then you fight another card, right? Where you have an A side, and then there's another guy that comes forward, and they both lose, and you have spots to fill on these cards that you can waste, right? Why not give the fans an entertaining fight with those two guys that are B side, maybe even C side, and put them against each other? Like, why are we against entertainment? That's what I understand. Like the top rank cards are cool, right? But they're just building their prospects. Like you're just gonna see a bunch of squash matches.
Yeah,
right? That's all you're gonna see. Why not fill in two guys that you're like, listen, they're probably never gonna amount to like stardom or a champion, but they might give us Ward Gotti. You know what I mean? There's a possibility Ward Gotti breaks out in this fight. Why wouldn't you do it? It's low. It's not going to be expensive because they're already opponents. They don't expect big paychecks. You could probably get them on a really promotional friendly deal, and just have those two guys fight each other. It makes no sense to me. Like, you got to start matching up talent level too. Like, two B sides, two C sides, two low level fighters fighting each other. You're probably gonna get a competitive fight. I don't get why they're against that.
The thing is, we used to get fights like that all the time back in the Friday Night Fights era.
Yes. Friday Night Fights was good for that. Yes.
Like, I'm gonna mention a few fighters who never became champion, but you are gonna know who I'm talking about. Look, Pavel Wolak, he never became champion. Delvin Rodriguez never became champion. Both these guys had a fucking absolute war, a fucking fight of the year on ESPN for free. Emmanuel Augustus and Mickey Ward, they had a fantastic fight on ESPN. And these are quote unquote journeymen, whatever you want to call them. But these are guys that we as fans, if we saw them in the street, we would want to take a picture with them just because we're hardcores and we know who they are. And these dudes never became champion. Now, there's no more Friday night fights. There's no more platform for that mid-level or even lower level fighter that's entertaining. I was hoping that Ring City could become something like that.
They were trying to.
Yeah, Ring City was putting on some good cards.
They were.
You know, not everybody there was a superstar, and I appreciated that. I'm like, yo, okay. And again, you never know. Like, look at what's his name? Carlos Molina. He had a bunch of losses and then eventually just worked his way up and became a champion.
Yeah, it's because also too, like, people forget too, like, the boxing is like a long journey, right? Like your career, and if you just throw every guy out because they have a loss or two losses or go like on a little rough skid, you never know when someone's gonna figure something out. And like you said, Carlos Molina figured a lot of things out with his style, and guys like that, once they figure it out, they could become dangerous for a lot of guys.
Yeah, and another guy like that is Glenn Johnson. Yo, Glenn Johnson,
yes,
had 15 losses or something like that, but he was entertaining. He fought everybody. And anytime he was on my screen, I was happy.
And Glenn Johnson, by the time he got to Tarver, when they fought, him and Tarver fought, I mean, he was a damn good fighter. He was one of the best fighters in the world, in my opinion, at that point. Like, he really was. He had really figured it out, everything with the style. He was confidence was there. His timing was there. Like, I just watched the Tarver, him and Tarver fight the first time. I believe it was the first one. Mm-hmm. And I was like, damn, this is a good fight. Like, you forget how good that fight was, how back and forth that was. There was another guy like that, and I believe Tim Bradley fought him. And I'm trying to think what it is. I think it was called, like, he had like a really interesting nickname, but something about like the universe or something like that. What's that? He was like
Nate Campbell.
Yeah, Nate Campbell. Exactly. Yeah, Nate Campbell. What was Nate Campbell's nickname?
I forget his nickname, but it was like I forget what his nickname.
I had to look it up now. Let's see here.
Nate I just Campbell. Know he always wore
the Galaxy Warrior. That's
the
exactly
Galaxy Warrior. Yes. Yeah. He wore a lot of purple for whatever reason. I remember
he did. Well, the Galaxy, like space, I guess that's what.
I see. I didn't even put two and two together. You're right.
Yeah, but see, he's that kind of guy. You know what I mean? Like, and Mickey Ward is that guy. I mean, Mickey Ward, if you just give up on him and you just say like, "Nah, I don't want to see this guy," too, like, you don't get the war. You don't get the Gotti fight. You get what I'm saying? So I don't understand why these guys like. Okay, we don't have Friday Night Fights anymore, but why would you throw away the blueprint that was obviously working for Friday Night Fights? Friday Night Fights didn't get canceled. If you know that, like, it didn't get canceled. They just changed their business model because people were watching this. People were entertained by this. Like, why throw that completely away? It doesn't make sense to me.
What happened was ESPN went through a big shift at one point where they fired a bunch of people, and it was just a whole new staff. It wasn't necessarily like we look at ESPN like under one umbrella, but really it was like if you moved out your house and other people moved in, your house is going to look different. Even though it's like, oh no, but that's Ezra's house. No, well, I mean, I guess he owns it. He's renting it out.
Yeah, but it's different now.
So that's exactly what happened. So
remember too that PBC bought time on their network, and then that was when they switched Teddy Atlas and them to covering the PBC fights.
Yeah. So what happens? And that's another thing. They probably saw like, wait a minute. So we got people buying time on our channel. Is like maybe we're more valuable. Boxing is more valuable than we think. And then
exactly. And then they got the deal with network deal with Top Rank, and they just locked them in, and that was it. But man, yeah, but there is like I said, there is a model there that I don't understand that boxing could do a lot more of. Like, well, the thing is, I think the The one that kind of has it kind of figured out is Golden Boy's doing like those midweek shows, and
Oh,
that's definitely the more Friday night fights
I love it.
ish.
Yeah, you're right. You're right. But you know, I want like a channel like CBS or NBC. Just put in a low budget, a low fucking budget where you get these types of fights where it's just entertainment value. And I guarantee you, it'll little by little grow. And another thing that Friday Night Fights had that was good is that it was great for hardcores, man. Brian Kenny used to bring us great interviews. He used to have these heated debates with Max Kellerman, educated debates. Same thing with Teddy Atlas back when he was bearable. You know, like they will be talking about the featherweight division where, if you go on First Take or one of these, like channels that they talk all sports, like they'll talk Canelo. Well, they'll talk Canelo, the welterweight division, which is Crawford and Spence, and the heavyweights, and that's it.
Yeah, well, Friday Night Fights they were like better than anything, and this is what the zone like. So the thing is weird about the zone is they're like not trying to adjust in any way to fix their broadcast because their broadcast is horrible. Like it just is. It's just one of the worst broadcasts. They're for sure last right now, huh? The zone, yeah, the zone. The zone's broadcast is horrible.
ESPN is the worst.
You think ESPN is worse than the zone?
I do.
Okay, well, let me my complaints with the zone because this is what the one thing that Friday Night Fights did very well. They mixed Friday Night Fights mixed a studio show with a live boxing card. Like you're saying, they would bring in news, they would bring in topics, and also have a fight card going together simultaneously. And it would work perfectly. And no one has really been able to do that. Now, what they do now, and DAZN does it the worst. Well, DAZN will just have awkward videos, have awkward like interactions between their between their anchors that just doesn't work. They have no chemistry. They're panicky because they have no like script to read, no fight in front of them. PBC does the Porter and that girl that they talk and that's all right. That's more bearable. They do interviews that are pretty good at sometimes. Brian Custer's the best at like doing that in between the fight type of thing. But ESPN used to do like a live studio show where they were like doing actual news, actual conversations, like a podcast, more like even like a podcast form, more like PTI in between the fights. That right there was second to none. We need the DAZN needs to get more to something like that. I already said they need to have people that are comfortable doing a podcast to talk in between their fights because they have so much long gap between their fights. They need someone to have a conversation, an argument before the fights and talk about everything. Don't just talk about your stuff. Talk about everything because there's no reason why not. The boxing fans just want to hear boxing.
No. Hey, listen. If you telling me that the zone could replicate what we was getting in Friday Night Fights, I will be happy for it because I feel like it's missing that if there's anything, you know how like I don't want to sound like an old guy, but you know how like people be like back in my day.
Mm-hmm.
If there's anything from quote unquote back in my day that I miss, it's Friday Night Fights. Now, obviously, there's a bunch of corrupt shit that used to be happening back then that is still happening back now. Still happening now. But if there's anything I could bring back, with the exception of these exclusive network deals, but like if excluding that, if there's anything I could bring back from my days, is that bring back when Friday Night Fights was necessary.
I'm with you on this. I'm with you on this for sure.
Yeah.
And the thing is this, you said like the networks get behind it, like NBC and all that, just because like their airtime is so expensive that it's never going to work correctly. Like they'll never do it because they demand the ratings that boxing can't deliver consistently when it's not like a big fight. But if one of these streaming services, like a Peacock or even like Amazon Prime, one of these streaming services who just needs to fill some space, they have a lot of content, they just need another live sport that kind of brings fans consistently. If they could just start offering boxing in one of these, like PBC needs more airtime. Obviously, they need more airtime. If they could just get on one of these things and do something like that, I think that's where the answer is.
No. Hey, man. Like I said, if they can make it happen, I'm all for it. But let me tell you why ESPN is the worst out of all of them.
Oh yeah, tell me.
Yo, when you listen to an ESPN broadcast, you can hear the fucking money being exchanged. Yo, bro, these dudes be so biased. Joe Tessitore be like, I mean, damn, they like Bob Arum must be really paying this dude a lot of money this dude be straight favoring him. Same thing with Tim Bradley and Andre Ward's scoring is horrid. Uh, Andre Ward complains if there's an entertaining fight, he wants everybody to be a boxer. I can't do it with it. Listen, and you know what's funny? And when Andre Ward was on HBO, yo, I loved him on HBO. I can't stand him on ESPN. And Tim Bradley, horrible, man.
You know why he was so good? Because everyone's good on HBO. You think Lennox Lewis was good on HBO? He's horrible on Fox, right? But Lennox Lewis was really good on HBO.
I never liked Lennox or Roy.
You didn't like Roy either? Well, I thought they were pretty good, and I thought they were really good because Jim Lampley was running the show, right? Like he was running the show, and he would know to toss it to this guy, and he's just going to be good at this one specific thing. Right now, Andre Ward just talks. And no one's really like telling him, like, oh, Ward, let me ask you this question because I know this, you'll be able to highlight this situation. No, they're not doing that. Like, they're just kind of like allowing everyone to talk. Now, I think Tim Bradley by himself is very good. I thought, honestly, Teddy Atlas was one of the best guys to call a fight. I really liked him. I liked his emotion in it. I thought that even if like you didn't agree with him, he was like at least engaging. He was at least making you think.
I mean, I always felt like he was too critical on the boxers. Like, if you know, not every fight is gonna be a fucking war. You don't have to complain and say you're gonna fall asleep and this is horrible. Does he know that fans pay tickets and he should exchange more? And I'm like, bro, like it's a second round and that's not his style. With not every fight. Listen, don't get me wrong. If everybody's fighting like Rigo, we got to start complaining. But it will be a decent fight, nothing crazy, but it's a decent fight, and he'll just be complaining the whole time how it's boring. But what I did like about him is that a lot of times he broke shit down from a trainer's perspective. Because say whatever you want about Teddy, he's a good trainer. Like say whatever. So he would break things down, and I'd be like, oh shit, like I ain't even look at it like that. You know, I'm a pretty knowledgeable boxing fan, but I'm like I ain't even look at it like that. And then he'll be like, hey, listen, he keeps bringing that left hand down. He's going to get caught. And then, boom, he gets caught. I'm like, oh, shit. So I do like that about him.
Yeah, and that's the thing. The thing is, though, he's making a choice, right? He's like, whether, like, oh, I don't agree with him or not. At least, like I said, he's making you think. He's something interesting. I think Joe Goosen at times has that. I think Lennox kind of holds back Joe Goosen. I think Brian Kenny hold back Joe Goosen a little bit. The Zone, like I said, I think their whole broadcast is just an absolute mess. I think the guy that calls their fights, Gresham, has no concept of boxing. He has no concept of boxing at all. Doesn't know the rules. Doesn't know anything. It doesn't make an effort to even learn the sport further than what he knows.
That's true, bro. Come on, man. That's not
Gresham. Gresham is horrible. The other day he asked if you hit someone in the butt, is it a low blow? Okay, this guy he has no concept of the sport that he is calling. He has absolutely no concept of it.
And I like Gresham. I actually like Gresham.
How do you like Gresham? I can't see anything that's salvageable.
See me. The thing is with the Zone is I like them individually. I just think that the chemistry's not there, especially between Mannix and Mora. They want to fucking argue on air. It's like, when has that been entertaining? Like that's something George Foreman and Larry Merchant used to do all the time. Like, yo, bro, I don't want to hear you guys bickering back and forth like a bunch of bitches, bro. Like, if you have a disagreement, just say it real quick and just keep moving, not argue about it for the whole fucking round.
Oh, I kind of love that, but like I said, I don't know.
Yeah, we like different things, bro. We like different things. That's what it is, man.
Who do you say the best in the game is right now?
Showtime. Showtime is the best.
But I'm saying, like, okay, I like Showtime a lot too. They definitely play it safe. They definitely are professional about it. I think Paul Malignaggi was really good when he was calling it. He let personal life get in the way of he just talked too much on things he didn't know, and that messed it up. But when he was calling it, he was very good. I actually think that what's his name was really good when they had him. The Magic Man, Tarver. Antonio Tarver
was good. Tarver was good. I mean, I listen to me. Paulie was the best athlete commentator, but best boxing commentator, like that actually fought. To me, he's my number one. Now I don't agree with a lot of the stuff he said, so I'm not here to discuss that. I'm talking about in terms of
no, he was good.
And behind the mic, he was the best.
Yeah, he was really good. Oh, I wish you could have.
And I'm a big fan of Al Bernstein. I really, really like Al Bernstein.
I like Albertine a lot too. I like
Yeah,
Albertine.
I
And you
like
know
him
what's
a
getting
lot.
better is Mars. Mars is getting better slightly, but he's finding a little rhythm in there
Yeah,
talking.
Mars is good. Mars, I'm actually never had a problem with Mars. He's like good. I wouldn't say he's like Paulie, but he's good. He's good. I like Paulie.
Yeah, at
You
first I was like Mars is horrible at this, but then I was just realizing he just needed a few attempts at it to kind of figure it out.
you know what's funny, right? So I had seen a fight quick story. So I had watched every Julio Cesar Chavez championship fight because I wanted to be as educated on because whatever I had like a scoring system I wanted to have like oh, is this a quality win, a regular win?
Oh yeah, that's what I do. The notable wins.
Yeah. So but I had it broken down like into like 5 different types of wins you can have, 5 different types of losses you can have, 3 different types of draws you can have. So, I was doing that. It was way too much work. So,
Yeah.
not. But anyways, point is, I saw every single championship fight Julio Cesar Chavez had, and one of them, uh, Mike Tyson was the commentator, and he was doing a great job. Like, this is a young Mike. This is like
Yeah,
1980.
yeah.
And he told the story on while commentating how he got invited by Chavez to go to Culiacan, Mexico. So he said he went out there and visited him, met with his family, and how they walked the streets of Culiacan and they were getting mobbed by fans, and how they had like a really good relationship as friends back in the 80s. And I was like, yo, had I not decided to do all this, I wouldn't have heard that story. And but yeah, and he did a really good job commentating.
Yeah, you know what's funny is what I think is Rolled, right? Rolled is the one on Twitter that works he's a
Yeah,
writer.
yeah,
So
I'm not a big fan of his, but go ahead.
I know where you stand with him, and so I don't agree with a lot of his takes either. But on the one thing he did say was he said, "Oh, Mike Tyson was a commentator," and they asked him what fight, and he said, "Buddy McGirt fight." So I went and looked at it, and yeah, he was very good on it. He was very good actually, and I'm curious if they put him on there now, he'd probably be more silly and like try to be more funny, I guess, and not take it as serious. But when he did then, and I heard it too, like he did have he was like a historian about it. He
Mhm.
was telling more stories. He was probably more like honestly like Vince Scully. Like it was more like telling stories and history of something than more like talking about the fight. And I thought it was very good.
Yeah, because the thing is, people don't realize. People look at this Mike Tyson, this savage knockout artist, but one, he's a very real, well spoken man,
Mhm.
very well read, very well researched in the sport of boxing. So, like when he's talking to you, he's not talking to you from this guy who had no skills but had powers. Like this guy had skills in the ring, read books, watched tapes from 19 fucking 38, and so he was very educated, and now, and I agree with you. Now he's probably, I don't know how much boxing he's really watching right now. This dude got businesses and smoking weed every day and stuff like. And I'm not knocking it. I'm just saying like I don't know
Yeah,
how
I just don't think he'll take it serious as he did when he
exactly.
was back then.
Which again, I'm not knocking it. Is hey, he's an older man. He can't be stuck on one thing your whole life.
Yeah, that's true. I mean, I plan on talking boxing until I die, but yeah, that's true. You cannot be
Yeah, but
stuck on one
your
thing.
life isn't as interesting as
That's true. This is very true. This is a very excellent point. We did talk about, you were talking about the win, so I do want to run something by you because I have been doing this on Twitter this week. I'm doing the notable wins, right, of Terrence Crawford. So let me give you the
yeah.
notable wins I have for Terrence Crawford. I have Porter, I have Postol, and I have Gamboa. That's it. That's the 3 notable wins I have for Terrence Crawford.
Mm-hmm.
Your thoughts? You disagree? Agree? What?
No. Listen, I agree. I agree. Like one time I was on my live, and this is before Canelo had lost. And I had Canelo number 1. I forgot. I think I had Inouye number 2, Usyk number 3, and I had Crawford number 4. I forgot who I had 5 because somebody had asked me while I was on live. I had Crawford number 4, and yo, people were like bashing me on my chat. I was like, yo, what the fuck? Like, yo, how is that a bad pound for pound list? there's no way, Crawford. You a hater. You are this. You. That. I'm like, yo. When have I ever said anything bad about Crawford? Like, how am I a hater? I just have an opinion. And then when like people were asking me why I have him at 4, I'm like, he doesn't have the resume. Now I have eyes. I know talent when I fucking see
Yeah,
it.
yeah. No one's doubting his talent.
Yeah, he has 10 knockouts in a row. That's not just luck. You know what I'm saying? The guy switches orthodox and southpaw. I can see he has talent, but he doesn't have the wins to be number one pound for pound as some people are ranking him.
Yeah, that's the thing is that if you well, first of all, if you're critical of him, you must hate him. If and I'm not even being critical. I'm just stating what's there. Like, what's the evidence that I have? That's what I'm gonna give. Now, I understand he posted that tweet the other day of like all the accomplishments he has. Yes, he has plenty of accomplishments, but not all accomplishments are equal, right? If certain eras have are better for certain weights, right? Like, no one's gonna say this is the strongest middleweight division we've ever had, right? There's definitely been way stronger middleweight divisions. So you can't say that this era, right, accomplishing this era of the middleweight is the same as accomplishing it in the 80s. It just can't say that. It's just not true. It's not possible. So you would have to need context. My context is notable wins. That's the only way I do it. And I know people are like, well, how do you come up with notable wins? It's clear. To me, it's clear as day. It's a win that when you retire, people will remember. That's a win that holds up. This is a guy that he beat that has shown that he can compete at the highest level at that time. That's a notable win. And to me, he has 3. No matter all his accomplishments, I give you that. And yes, I know people are going to argue it's not his fault. He just could fight who's there. That doesn't matter, though. That's the thing is people trying to get me to grade it on a curve. I can't do that. The wins are the wins, and that's all it is. That's all I'm doing is just telling you what wins are notable. Huey said, beating Burns in Glasgow is a notable win to me. Now, Huey, I don't know if you're using because of where it was at being a notable win, but to me that doesn't work that way. Like, there's no curve. There's no way to make a guy a better win than if anyone beats him is a notable win. Now, if you look at Burns, he never really beat anyone that was like of a notable win from himself to make himself a notable win. There's no really win in there, and he has a draw in there to Ray Beltran. So in a lot of the fight that he should have lost. So I don't ever really think Burns was at that level. Now, I think that beating him was good for Terence Crawford. It got him the title. It made him a name, established himself in the weight division. That's good. You can still have good wins that do good things for your career, but they're not notable. That's what I think Burns was.
So you wasn't impressed by Ricky Burns beating Rocky Martinez?
I was not. I was not.
I was being sarcastic.
No, I get you.
No. Listen, I agree with you. I think it's unfortunate what Top Rank did to Crawford. You know, and they just never were able to get him in these big fights. They never got him the Pacquiao fight, which was at like multiple times looming. Whatever reason it did, I don't know who's to blame, but point is, it didn't fucking happen.
Okay, so let me go through. I did Spence as well, right? For Spence, I believe I have 4 notable wins. So I have Brooke, Porter, Danny Garcia, and Mikey Garcia. I had at first I did have what's his name? Peterson, but then Isan brought to my attention, you know, like he was like, he's a little past at that point. So I went back and reviewed it. And yeah, he probably was past at that point. He really didn't have anything that showed that he was still a high level fighter at that point. So I eliminated him. So 4 notable wins. What do you think of those?
Like, you gonna count that Mikey Garcia win like that? Like,
so okay, so the way I look at it, and I did get a little pushback for that one. He did have good wins at 140. He beat Lipinets. He beat Broner, right? So he was established at 140. Now, no, he never was established at 147. But when you go past that, he does knock out Jesse Vargas, who I'm not saying is a high level guy or anything, but he does have a win at 140 where he does show that he has some power. No, decision. Jesse Vargas. Yeah. He does drop Jesse Vargas in that fight.
Yeah, I'm like, I don't remember.
Yeah. I always remember as like the fight ends when he drops him. But yeah, he decisions him. I'm gonna give it to him because at that point, no, I know, like I said, hindsight of how the fight played out, but I think at that point everyone kind of thought that was going to be an interesting fight. I think everybody thought that Mikey Garcia was at a very high level, and he lost. He lost to a guy that I think is just at a very high level himself. I'm not going to knock him for that. Like, it's like, okay, Canelo moved up to fight Bivol. That's going to be a notable win for in Bivol's career. Like I can't take it away. It could be like,
no,
well,
but I don't think that's a fair comparison. So let me put context. You know how Polo is with Canelo.
yes.
That's how I used to be with Mikey.
Okay.
Mikey was my dog. That was like the guy, like my number one favorite fighter back in that era. Like, from like anywhere from like 2012 to like 20, 19, 20, not 20, probably like 2017. Like that he was my favorite fighter.
Okay.
He really was a lightweight at that time. He was fighting at 140 because of opportunity.
Mm-hmm.
Fighting at 140 because he really was a lightweight. And I knew he was gonna lose the fight, and then last minute, I switched it because I was too busy focusing on being a fan.
Yeah.
Not using logic. And what really made me pick him was how confident he was talking. He was talking like he was like, "Yo, I'm gonna surprise you guys. You guys are in for one. Like everybody's picking against me. You're gonna see." And I'm like, he made me change again, but that was just me being biased. But looking back, what I originally thought, I was like, "Yo, like this dude is really a lightweight. He just moved up because Top Rank at the time had all the night lightweights he would have been making money with, and he was he don't fuck with Top Rank. So
So he was trying to find an opportunity.
You beat a lightweight who moved up basically 2 divisions because he couldn't get fights at 135 and was fighting at 140. He had Hall of Fame talent, so he in my book he's a Hall of Famer, and that may be biased. We can debate that later if you want. So you got this Hall of Famer who's a blown up lightweight, beating 140 pounders, and now you're blowing them up even more to fight welterweight. I don't know, man. I can't give you too much credit for that win.
Okay, so in your mind, then, because I still think Mikey is a good win, but in your mind, you have 3 notable wins then for Spence, or do you think I missed someone? And the one I think that would be I'm missing would be Ugas, who I don't have in there.
I mean, all right. Do you have Garcia?
Danny Garcia? Yes, I have Danny Garcia. I have Porter, and I have Brooke.
Yeah, I mean, I guess you can make an argument for Ugas because a lot of people feel like he beat. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, I think the reason why I don't have Ugas is I think he beat an old Pacquiao.
No. But that Porter loss.
Oh, the Porter one. That's the one they had me like, yeah, that has me borderline because I'm like, oh, that kind of could prove it. Let's see what he does. He could easily end up back on the list if he gets like another key win in the division. Then I can see him back on the list. But right now, I'm gonna say I'm gonna leave him off it.
I'm gonna add him and I'm gonna take off Mikey.
Okay, so we're both at 4 notable wins though for Spence.
Yeah.
Okay. So in my book, right, not the actual Hall of Fame, because the actual Hall of Fame everyone gets in, right? If you have a name.
Oh,
but I'm saying in my book, right, the Ezra Hall of Fame, right, the Raw of Fame. That's actually pretty catchy. I'm gonna say that they are neither of them is a Hall of Famer in my book. See, and I think that's gonna be crazy for people to say because, like I said, Crawford has all those accomplishments. I just don't think that those accomplishments they could just be misleading. I think a little bit.
No, I get it. I see your point. I mean, I do find it hard to leave out Crawford because he was lineal at 135, then undisputed / lineal at 140, and then becomes the number 2 welterweight in the 3rd division. I do find it hard to leave him out of the Hall of Fame just based off accomplishments. But if you're telling me based off if it's just based off resume, I definitely agree with you. He wouldn't be in the Hall of Fame, but I don't think we could take away these accomplishments from these fighters because that's what they're working for, especially lineal. Whether you want to respect the belts, that's a different story. I'm not giving anybody any wiggle room on giving the fighter respect for being lineal, especially in 2 divisions.
Yeah, I mean that's like I said. I just think it's the way you look at it, right? So I don't have no problem with looking at it, whatever way you're gonna look at it. I have no problem. Like if you say like the belts matter to me, I want the guys to get the belts. It's just that for me, I just think that a lot of those things are just very political. I think a lot of times like guys are able to move up these weight classes because maybe the weight class is weak at the time. honestly. Like, are you moving up when it's a legendary weight class? Like, okay, like let's just say like Inoue, right? Inoue moves up to 122 pounds and he fights Fulton. Like, to me, that's like an all-time guy at 122 in Fulton, right? So like that's a really tough fight. So if he wins at that weight class, like it's really saying something. But let's say he moved up and he was just fighting Luis Neri. It's not the same thing. You know what I mean? Say Fulton doesn't exist and just Luis Neri's there. It's not the same thing. So the accomplishment would be the same, but it's just not the same thing as beating Fulton. And that's the issue I can't get past.
But to your argument, right? So he beat Gamboa, who, like, we look at Gamboa now how he is now, but that wasn't the Gamboa.
No, and Gamboa's a notable win. I have a notable win.
No, I know. So he beat a Gamboa. I don't want to say he was in his prime, but definitely not so out of his prime where. So he beat Gamboa, and that was at 135, and ended up becoming lineal in that division. Okay, so that's that division. At 140, he beat Posto, who you also have as a notable win.
Yes.
Undisputed and lineal in that division.
Yes.
And then he gets a belt, whether you want to value the belts or not, but then beats Porter in that division, which is also a notable win.
Yes.
So in every division he's been in,
he's got a notable win.
Two of them he's been lineal, and one of them he's had, and the other one he has a belt and a notable win on top of that. I like for Crawford. Honestly, we can't take away the credit from his accomplishments. I'm sorry.
Now, can I add to this one other thing too? Some people just their bodies are just different, and they're going to be able to go up in weight, and they're going to still be growing as they fight. And then you have a guy like Spence who stays in the same weight class. You know what I mean? So like, are we okay? Like Manny Pacquiao, right? Not everyone is growing like Manny Pacquiao is. Do you know what I'm saying? It's we can't just say like, oh, he was just so skilled and hit so hard that he was able to do that. It's like, no, right? He can't start from all the way there, basically like where Inoue is, and he worked all his way to 147. That's just his physical body that did that, right? He grew into a bunch of other weight classes.
I'm not gonna. That's why he's a top 10 all-time great.
No, I do, but he's a top 10 all-time great because he beat a lot of notable fighters going through all those weight classes, right? But to me, it's just the notable wins. Like, I'm not going to be like, oh, well, he did it and he went through all these weight classes. Like, to me, it's just like that's circumstantial almost in a way. It's like, just beat the names. I don't care if you stay in one weight class and you beat, say if you stay in one weight class and it happens to be like the golden era of that weight class and you beat 10 like names where I'm like, oh, these guys are all like legitimate notable wins, right? And then you have a guy and he's not beating those names, but he's just going up 10 weight classes. I want the guy that stood in the one weight class and beat those 10 names. No, to me, that means more.
I understand what you're saying, but when there's a lineage that you could go back, that you beat the guy to beat the guy to beat the guy, and you did that twice, I got to give you full credit for that, man. I'm sorry. Like, you have to look at it from a historical perspective. Whenever they talk about the division, they have to talk about you because you were one of the lineal champions, and not only in one division, in two. And then the second division, you did it with the undisputed titles on top of that. So even if I value belts, so it's all right. Well, if you value the belts, I had all of them and I had the lineal. I'm sorry, I can't take away that credit from Crawford.
So there's sometimes, and like I said, we already backed up that every weight division he went to, he has a notable win. So we backed that up. Right. So I don't really care about the weight division. I just care about the win. But we back that up. That's pretty solid. Right.
Yeah.
And we saying the history of it. Right. The history that it goes and you could go back and trace and he's the guy that beat the guy that beat the guy. I mean, if you have presidents, right, and they get elected, right, all of them are going through the same cycle to get elected, and they get elected. You could be like, well, damn, this president got elected just like that one did, so he must be as good as that one. It's like, no, that's not the case. Like, this guy is actually a crap president, and this guy was a very good president. Now we can go down the history of it and be like, yeah, he did get elected. He might even have got more votes, right? He might even had a bigger majority than the other guy did, right? But that doesn't mean he's a better president. Do you get what I'm saying of this? Like, I'm just saying, like, the history of it could, like, all these things, all these ribbons and the things we put on this stuff, it's nice. Like I said, if it was in a book, it's romanticizing the sport, but is it realistic to what we're looking at? I don't know. It is.
I understand what you're saying. It's like Rocky Marciano. He retired a champion.
He's 50-0.
But his records, like his resume, ain't nothing to. It's good, don't get me wrong, but it's not like you can't compare it to Muhammad Ali.
Exactly.
I understand what you're saying, but we don't dismiss Rocky Marciano. We still say Hall of Famer. We still say he was great. Yo, the guy's undefeated and was lineal in 2 divisions and undisputed in one of them. I can't ignore that as much as well. And you know, me and you disagree on the belts, anyways, which is why I'm talking just lineals. When you talk about lineal, that I leave no room for debate. You have to give a person full credit because that means the one guy fought the number 2 guy, who came out victorious, or it's like
But not all number 1 and number 2 guys are equal. Do you get what I'm saying?
No, I totally agree, but that's just a matter of circumstance.
That's what I'm saying. But that's what I'm saying. I'm trying to eliminate circumstance. That's what I think I'm doing. I'm completely eliminating circumstance. To me, it's just, do you have the wins? There's no circumstance to it. No, like, okay, like we look at, if we're talking about you beat the man to beat the man to beat the man, this is the Cambosos argument over and over. And I hear this at least once a day. I hear this argument once a day.
His next fight.
What happened?
Cambosos has 1 win and lost it in his next fight.
No, I know, but he was the man. He was the man that beat the man to beat the man, right? But that shows you the flaw in that era. That if you keep going by that, there's going to be a guy in there. There's going to be a Ricardo Mayorga in there that just upset the apple cart. That's all he's going to do.
Listen. Buster Douglas was a lineal heavyweight.
That's what I'm saying. This is exactly what I'm saying.
Okay, but Buster Douglas also has 1 notable win. What's his name? Cambosos has 1 notable win. You talk about anomalies that happen. Like Joe Flacco won a Super Bowl. Joe Flacco is currently the backup quarterback of the Jets. You get what I'm saying? Anomalies happen.
You would never. Yes, exactly. Anomalies happen. So you would never say though Joe Flacco is an all-time great quarterback because he has a title, right? Because he has a Super Bowl.
No, but my point is anomalies happen. If somebody's doing it in twice, you have to kind of consider it. You have to be like,
okay. So if in the Turge Crawford situation, I get you on that because he did it he did 2 or 3 times, right? Yeah. So I 2 times. So I get you on that. That part makes sense to me. I don't know. I just think that sometimes it's just, like I said, it's circumstantial, and I kind of just want to eliminate circumstantial. I also think that all fighters should have a rating on them, like similar like to Madden. And if you beat them, you get those points. Like at the end of your career, say if you fought a guy, right? Like like the box rec I think has something similar to this, but it's more official than like I don't know what the hell formula box rec used to do it, because sometimes guys are like really good rating. I'm like, well, this guy's not that good. But let's just say like there was a panel and they did it, and like let's say that Spence is a 95 out of 100. If you beat this guy, he's worth 95 points, right? And then at the end of your career, we add up all the points. Like this is everything he accomplished. This is all the points he got. This is how good he was. I think that's more measurable than how we do it now.
No. Hey, I mean, there's no perfect way of doing it, but I just have a tough time, like thinking about a Crawford not being in the Hall of Fame. Now, Spence, I can see that. I mean, just because he's never fought the best in his division, man. Like, he never fought Keith Thurman, he never fought Floyd or Pacquiao, and he never fought Crawford. Like I guess he has 3 belts, and again, me and you, we disagree on the importance of it, but he has 3 belts, and that is somewhat impressive. Well, not somewhat, it is impressive. It just, come on, man, beat the best in your division at least once, man. You never did it. Whether it's because Pacquiao wouldn't, Mayweather wouldn't give you the fight, or it's because Keith Thurman was ducking you, or the negotiations with Crawford isn't going well. I don't know what it is, but bro, I cannot let you in the Hall of Fame if you were never the best in your division, or at least close fight or something.
And see, that's a crazy thing, because in my thing, I could make more of a case for him to be in the Hall of Fame than Crawford. See, I can understand this pissing people off. I really can. I think people listening right now like it's stunned by this, but
listen. I understand your point. You're looking at it like, all right, I'm just looking at who you beat. But you see my point in terms of
I get it. I get it.
Yeah,
I just also think that just like people's bodies are different, and it's just like to sit.
You were never the number 1 guy in your division, and you want to be in the Hall of Fame. I don't like. To me, the Hall of Fame should matter. To me, the Hall of Fame should be like, I was clearly the fucking best.
But you wouldn't say right now Spence is the number 1 guy in his division, because I think he is the number 1 guy in his division.
He's never been the number 1 guy.
I mean, okay, but so then you would have Keith Thurman's still the number 1 guy then?
No. That's why I said he's never beaten the number one guy in his division. Crawford has done that. Well, how do I know? Because he was undisputed. He beat everybody with a fucking belt. Had the lineal.
But Haney's undisputed, and he hadn't beaten really any of the guys that we consider really a top guy in that division.
Okay, well, how did Haney collect his belts, and then how did Crawford collect his?
No, I get you on that. I mean, I get you.
It's just like, to me, you got to fight the number one guy. You got, at some point, to be a Hall of Famer. In my book, you have to fight the number one guy, or if you're the number one guy, fight the number two guy, and prove to the world without a shadow of doubt that you're the best in your division. And
Carlos Montes said, "Bro, we got a point low key." So that's a point for you right there. That's a point for you right
there. I know I'm winning the argument, but
the thing is that I think you're making solid points. I don't agree with this at all, but I agree. I think you're making solid points. Like I said, the history and all that, I think we could put a ribbon all these things and make it sound nice, and that's what we're doing for Crawford. It sounds nice. It sounds like, oh man, like look at this guy. Like if I was telling someone, like, man, this guy's going through these divisions and he's beating the number one guy in those divisions, right? And that sounds cool until I start asking, like, well, are these guys like notable wins? Are they good wins? And then you're going to be like, oh, I mean, circumstantially they are.
No, all right. I mean, about this, I don't know. There's probably no way to Googling it, but if you look up who two division lineal champions, I bet you they're all Hall of Famers.
Yeah, but that's the thing though. The Boxing Hall of Fame is so, like
no. Even under your rules, I bet you look up any two division lineal champion.
Let's just look at that.
And they're all Hall of Famers in the Raw Hall of Fame.
Two division lineal. I just feel like boxing history is just not easy to find them.
Yeah. I'll be floored if you find something.
That's what I'm saying.
But yeah, like that's why I rate Pacquiao so high. Pacquiao was lineal in 5 divisions. Yo, that's unheard of.
Yeah. Also, like his body just grew different than everybody else's, so he kind of had that advantage. But
no, but
I'm with you.
I give credit for shit like that.
Yeah, it's gonna take some research, but I'll definitely tweet about this tomorrow about what the two lineal champion in 2 different divisions, because there's like this guy. It basically just opened a book here. So yeah, but I get you. I get your point you're making.
No, for sure.
What was I gonna say? I was gonna leave this to somewhere else. I don't know. I just went blank right now. Oh, Mikey Garcia's a Hall of Famer in your book.
I mean, all right, and listen, if you say he's not, I'm not even gonna like debate you too hard, because I'm probably being biased, because I mentioned to you he was my favorite fighter.
Mm-hmm.
Yo, to me, he doesn't have the wins for whatever reason. They never came his way. But in every division he was in, with the exception of 47, he was the best fighter, in my opinion. 126 for sure. He beat the fuck out of Salido. And if you want to. But point is, handling him with so much ease, dropped him 4 times. This is the same Salido that beat Loma, that went to Puerto Rico twice and knocked out Juanma Lopez. This is that Salido. And Mike Garcia handled him with so much ease. Moved up to 130. I think beat up Rock.
We're breaking up a little bit.
In that fight. Yeah, he ran into a punch. It wasn't like he was wobbled and hurt and he had a hold and survived the round. He just got clipped, and then he ended up finishing the fight.
What would you say is Mikey's best win?
Beat Robert Eaton. Salido's his best win.
Salido's his best win?
Again, that's what I'm saying. Like, yeah, he doesn't have the wins to justify it, but to me, I know what the fuck I saw, man. It's like, I know what the fuck I saw, and I was the best at 126, the best at 130, the best at 135, and the best at 140 when he fought. Nobody could tell me different. This is my era. I followed his career very closely, and I know for a fact he was the best in all those divisions. It was just
what were the fights that he didn't get that he should have got?
Loma, Crawford, um, Gamboa. Um, those are the only fights I can think of off the top of my head. But the Loma fight
Maybe
was like a big
Leonaris,
fight.
right? Possibly Leonaris.
Oh, he would have beat the fuck out of Linares.
But that would have been a good fight, though, right? Like, it would have been a solid matchmaking fight for him at that point.
I mean, it would be a good matchup for him to knock him out in 4 rounds.
Well, I'm just saying, like a name on the resume. At that point, I think Leonaris would be.
I don't think Linares is a notable win, to be honest with you. But I mean, I guess if that's what you want to get at, I think he dominates and stops him. I think he would have easily knocked out. I think he would have.
Wait, you would knocked out who? You kind of popped out a little bit. What was it? Who knocks out who? Easily knocks out who?
Oh, he easily knocks out Loma. Okay. Easily knocked out Gamboa. He easily knocks out Linares, and I think he beats Crawford. But I don't think he stops him. I think he wins comfortably in the decision.
See that see right there. Like and if he does all that, guess what he just made? The Hall of Fame. He would have made the Hall of Fame, the Ezra Hall of Fame.
Listen. Like I said, these fights didn't happen for whatever reason. A lot of it was like he had beef with Top Rank, so he had like a long layoff, and then when he came back, all the fights that would have made sense for him were on Top Rank side, and obviously he just sued them, and then he got injured, so he went on a long layoff, another long layoff, and it was just a whole mess. He was trying to start his own promotional company, so it was a lot of it was like he thought I mean, I guess he got the money. I was gonna say he thought his value was higher. He got the money, but that sacrificed his legacy. And then, I'm not here to tell somebody what to do, but I feel like he could have beat those guys, man. He was that good, man. Am I bugging? You don't remember him being that good?
No. I thought he was great. I honestly was like, especially like, I thought like when he fought like Broner too, I was like, I just always knew he was like levels above everyone. And then, like I said, the Spence thing happened. And yeah, I think the weight definitely had something to do with it, but also, I don't know. And then, it kind of diminished diminished product after that. And that was probably because of like not being hungry to fight anymore and all these things, I mean, there's a bunch of things that take an effect. But yeah, I did at that point thought like he's one of the best fighters in the world. And I just really wanted to see it tested. And I just felt robbed. I never really saw it tested. When I seen him fight Robert Easter, that was like, I think to me, like the height of it, of like, yeah, this guy's just like levels above a lot of people, but I just never really felt like, like we got the dominant era, I guess, of him, of like he's beating all these like names, you know what I mean? Like, and he the thing that which all those guys you named, like I think like we didn't get those fights. Like that sucks, you know what I mean?
Yeah, like I said, man, like that's something like nobody can convince me that I'm wrong. Like I know he was that good. Like people going, yo, but the Four Kings, Tio and Tank and Haney and Ryan. I'm like, yo, if y'all impressed by these dudes, man, y'all don't know about my era. Like that's something I'm gonna tell my son. I don't give a fuck who's fighting in his era. I'm gonna be like, yo, you gotta watch the Mikey Garcia tapes, man.
I always kind of thought that Mikey would at some point fight Tank Davis. I thought before the Sandor Martin fight that I was like, oh yeah, Mikey and Tank are gonna fight one day. Like I always thought that kind of fight made sense. It was probably good for Mikey at that point of his career that didn't happen, because if he would have fought him before he fought, like instead of fighting Sandor Martin, he probably would have ended badly for him. But yeah, I always thought that fight was going to be something we see.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like if he was in his prime and
in his tip-top shape and everything, yeah,
he beats all four of them. And people are like, "What are you? Oh my God, have you seen Tank? His knockout power?" I'm like, yo, at one point, Mikey was 30-0 with 33-0 with 30 knockouts. Like he was doing. He just wasn't doing it in savage fashion like Tank was, but he was getting motherfuckers out of there quick.
Yeah, he was tearing them apart.
He didn't waste no punches. No punch. Sharp. Didn't get hit. He wasn't getting hit. Like I mentioned, he got dropped in that Rocky Martinez fight. Yeah, but like he just ran into a shot. Wasn't like he fucking got, his chiclets knocked out. Like, oh my God, he was wobbling. He just walked into a punch and proceeded to fucking dominate and stopping this dude.
What was so he stopped? He had the trouble with in 2014 to 2016. I'm guessing is when he had. Yeah, because he went to. Okay, yeah. 2014 is when he Top Rank stopped fighting him, and then 2016 is when he comes back. Yeah, he missed a huge portion of his career. Massive portion of his career.
That's what happened. So when I tell people, yo, he was like one of the greatest fighters I've ever seen, his resume doesn't justify it. But it's like, are you really picking Gamboa over him? Like, be honest.
No, I'm not picking Gamboa over him.
Are you picking Loma against him?
I think that's a closer fight.
Oh,
I
okay.
probably
It's a
wouldn't
close
pick.
fight.
Yeah, it's a closer fight. I probably would favor Mikey in that fight.
My point exactly.
Yeah.
And now, if you want to say you picking Crawford again, I'm not gonna get mad. But
I think, but that I would have liked to have seen that when they were both at the top of their game.
I would have picked Mikey, but like that's a fight. I'm not gonna be surprised if he lost to Terrence Crawford, but I don't think he gets knocked out by Crawford.
No, I don't think so either.
I think
that's a goes to decision on that one.
To me, I think Mikey would have won that fight 8-4 because Crawford tends to give up the early rounds, and I feel like he would have gave up like the first 6, then start adjusting, and eventually Mikey would have won at least 2 rounds in the last 6 rounds and won the fight 8-4. That's the fight.
Is it true? And I know you've heard this story before that Mikey is the reason why Top Rank signed Terrence Crawford.
Yes, it is true.
That's true, right? I remember hearing that multiple times.
Well, this is how it happened. Mikey Garcia was signed to a guy named Cameron Duncan. I'm sure you're familiar with him.
Yeah.
And he asked him, like, hey, man, anybody from the amateur system, do you think that it's good that I should sign? And he told him, hey, man, there's this guy named Terrence Crawford. Crawford actually beat him in the amateurs. He's this guy named Terrence Crawford, man. You got to sign that guy. So Cameron Duncan signed him. And then Cameron Duncan presented him to Top Rank after he had like 4 or 5 fights like with different promoters. And then Cameron Duncan was like, hey, man, you guys got to sign my guy. And they put him on a card, and they like what they saw, and they signed him.
Yeah, I remember like when Terrence Crawford was coming up on like Top Rank, and you would see him on like the prelims or like undercard, and you just knew like they had something there. Like you knew like, oh damn, this guy looks like something different. And I remember he stepped up to fight Bradis Prescott. Short notice, yeah. And I remember that when they were talking about it, that they were saying like, oh, Crawford, it was telling his team like, well, I'll beat him. Like it was like nothing. Like it was like, oh, I can't believe it. Again, give me this opportunity. Like I'm gonna beat this guy easily. And Prescott was a guy to be worried about back then. You know, he knocked out Amir Khan. You know, for a guy that was coming up, you would be like, oh, this is gonna be a tough fight. And he just outclasses Prescott. Like this is not a close fight. It's not.
I was a fan of Prescott too. I don't know if you remember his fight with Mike Alvarado.
Yeah.
It was a war. It was a fantastic fight. He ended up losing, but he gave Alvarado everything he could fucking handle.
Yeah, and Prescott could bang. He could bang, man. He could hit hard. And you seen the Amir Khan one. He let them sleep in the corner.
Yeah, no, I totally agree. He was a fantastic, like not fantastic fighter in the sense like very entertaining and always like gave a full effort.
Yeah, definitely. I was gonna say, what do you think about the fights this weekend? Any of them got you excited? Are you excited about? Are you feeling the Benn and Eubank fight?
I am, man, and like, I don't know if you heard the Jake and Lefty show this past week.
I did.
Yo, like,
yeah, people are not giving Benn a shot. They feel like,
what the fuck? I don't. Yeah. Listen, I just think he takes the sport a lot more serious. I think he's taking this a little bit more personal, like from his perspective, from as far as representing his father's legacy. You know, and he's moving up in weight. He's and honestly, I don't understand. Like, so this is why I brought up the Jake and Lefty show. There was this dude named Undisputed.
Yeah, I know Undisputed.
Yeah, like he was like straight shit, and he's like, I haven't seen anything from him. Why is this guy he's a lower level fighter and this? I'm like, what are you talking about? Like, do you watch boxing, bro? Like, to me, he's a hot prospect at 147. I am high on him.
Yeah, so I was looking at both that fight, and it's funny because like, and I think Jake brought this up too. It's like they were kind of like both in the same position, like where people think they're kind of like novelty acts. And the thing with Eubank is he actually doesn't have that bad of a resume. I'll be honest with you, he has a win over Liam Williams, who that was like a decent win for Andrade when he got it. Right,
Yeah.
he has a win over James DeGale, and I understand that James DeGale people he was old, but he wasn't really. No one had really proven that he was old at that point. He lost to Caleb Truex, he gets that back, and then he fights Eubank, and Eubank beats him up in that fight. James DeGale's like a pretty credible win, right? And I understand he's old, but you can't say that until someone proves you're old, right? And I thought that that's what Eubank did. He proved that guy was old, right? He took everything from him. So I'm like, okay, he's kind of credible. Like he's kind of credible at middleweight. He'd be a credible win for a lot of guys at middleweight right now. Now, Connor Benn was the same thing. He was the same, like a novelty act. His dad's famous. He's a guy that comes forward, is aggressive, but he's figured out a lot of stuff with his style. I think that I think that his legs are better than people give him credit for. I think his timing's better. He's treating everyone like a punching bag. He has all the confidence in the world when he punches. Like he's going to put it on you. He's going to hit you hard. And the thing is going to come down to with me for Connor Benn is his power for real? If his power is for real, right, and it looks like it is, and usually when guys go up levels, right, and you start fighting tougher competition, you see the knockouts go down. The power starts going down because you're not being able to place your shots. You're not landing as clean anymore. It's not like, the guys that are willing to just give in. These guys that are like Algieri, Van Heerden, Granado, Samuel Vargas, they're feeling his power. Like they're getting slept. His power is still holding up against these guys. And they're not just like feeling it, like they're going to sleep. So if his power is for real, he's going to be a problem for guys at 147. And if his power is for real in this fight, Eubank, who, might feel tired, he gets tired already in the second half of the fight, especially when he fights that Roy Jones style. But if he gets tired because of the weight and he starts feeling this power, like he could get folded up. And I think he will late in this fight. I think the Benn's a problem. I understand. Maybe people just can't get that what they think of him like the novelty act of him, and they can't shake that. But I think he's turning into something for real.
Listen, bro, you said everything I wanted to say. You said it in a lot way better way than I want. Listen, I'm picking Benn by decision. I do think that Eubank cutting down to 157 is going to cost him a bit. A guy who has fought at super middleweight. You got what I'm saying? Also, there's a rehydration clause. I'm not too familiar as to what's the weight.
They said it's around 10 pounds. I don't know what that means, but they said it's around 10 pounds.
All right. Well. Hey, listen. That's still a little bit of weight for a guy who has fought at super middleweight. Listen. I'm picking Benn. I think he takes the sport more serious. He's not going to be dehydrated. And honestly, I'm higher on him than I am. What's his face?
Eubanks. Yeah, I am too. And I actually think we see both of them hurt. And the funny thing is, like, I think that Eubanks' size, Eubanks' weight is going to play two different advantages in this fight. One for him and one against him. I think early on his size is going to be a plus for him. I think he might hurt Benn at some point early in this fight. I think in the second half it'll be a disadvantage for him. I think he'll feel drained. I think he'll feel he already, like I said, already in the second half of fights he kind of falls apart. I don't think Benn does. I think Benn's pretty good and consistent, and he comes with the same energy and confidence. And he has not been. No one has taken away his confidence yet. And when a guy like him that hits hard and hasn't had his confidence taken away yet, he's tough in fights. He's going to be tough in fights, and I think he's going to be tough late in this fight. And I think that's where it really starts to expose Eubank.
Again, I honestly, I'm picking just based off moxie, just based off what I see each fighter handle himself. Mm-hmm. I feel Connor Benn is always in shape, trying to fight the best fighters, and like you look at his resume, and it's pretty comparable. If not, matter of fact, I'm not even going to say comparable. It's better than Boots' resume. So, he's fighting. He's being matched correctly for where I think he should be, and I think he's taking the sport really, really serious. Like, I don't look at him like a novelty act. I don't look at him as somebody who has the natural talent, but is living off his father's name, kind of like a Chavez Jr. I don't look at him like that. I do see a little bit of that in Chris Eubank. I really do. And I know that sounds a bit harsh. I don't think he's quite as undisciplined as Chavez Jr. But what I'm saying is I don't see him I do see the natural talent. I just don't see the natural hunger, if that makes sense.
No, yeah, no, it does. It definitely makes sense. And a lot of times I'll tell you, like demeanor and energy and like people's like motivation or their energy in the ring or their aggressiveness in the ring, it could really tell. You could really tell a lot of fights, predict a lot of fights correctly, just going off of that. I think people are. I understand like skill and all that, like that plays a huge factor. But sometimes you'd be like, this guy's just going to keep coming, right? Like he's going to keep coming, and I think this guy mentally is going to fall apart at some point. I can see that happening with Eubank, where he falls apart mentally at some point in this fight, and he gives in. I think he could legit give in this fight. What's I going to say about Benn? I'm just curious. What do you think about? So I see a lot of people talking about this fight, and they're like, well, what's the point of it, right? Like, what's the point of this fight? It doesn't do anything for any of their careers. I really disagree with that. But what do you feel about this fight, like as far as for their careers?
It's an important fight. It's a legacy fight, man. Again, getting back to what I was saying earlier about the lineal titles, this is history, man. Their fathers fought, and it's personal. And when their fathers fought, it was the biggest UK event. I think like 30 million people watched this fight or something crazy like that. Where
I mean, I'm gonna add Carlos too. Keep going though. Well,
right.
What's up, Carlos?
It was like a bunch of people saw this fight, like where to the point where like it was historic. And again, I do like the fact that somebody like I'm a son, and I have a son. You know, if my son was out here fighting a fight that maybe I lost or maybe I won, and I just want to prove that my lineage is stronger than yours, I like it, man. It has sentimental value to some degry, if that makes sense.
Will Broadway Jr. be going to get back some revenge for something that Broadway Senior could just didn't take care of in his time?
Not in the fighting world. I mean, my dream was to be an NFL player, and I'm not going to push that on my son. But if he wants to play football, then God bless him. But I'm not going to force anything on him at all.
Carlos, can you hear us?
Yeah, bro. Can you hear me?
Oh, okay. Yeah, I can hear you. Yeah, what I was thinking about this fight, bro, is the thing is too, like for people saying like it's pointless. It's a pointless fight. I don't really see that because you have to understand too, like the star power of the winner that walks out of this fight, the popularity that's going to rise, the money that's going to be thrown at this guy now that he's got that fight and probably the A side in a lot of fights. All these rankings that people are talking about, all these bouts people are talking about, he's going to get those opportunities because he's going to be a bigger star. He's going to bring more money to the table. And I don't understand like people that don't see that. Like people are saying like, oh, he should have fought Stanionis or someone in the ranking. It's like, you think that's a bigger fight than this one? You think that's going to do more for his career than this fight? Like that doesn't make any damn sense. It don't make any sense when people do that. I don't understand people get stuck on these things, not to go over the same thing over and over again, but it's just like you have to understand that this is a bigger fight. Like it's like Tank and Ryan, and it's like saying like, oh no, like that they should actually fight. I don't know, like just say Kambosos was champ at the time, and just be like they should fight Kambosos like over each other. You think that's a bigger fight than them fighting each other? Like it's just not. That's just not the case. So that's why when people say that, I don't understand. It makes, to me, this fight makes perfect sense. It makes perfect sense. It's a risk. Yeah, sure, it's a risk. It's a gamble. But I guarantee they're going to make a lot of money. And I guarantee that the winner comes out of this is going to have a lot of pull. And if it's a great fight and they both walk out of this good, then they're both going to have a lot of pull. That's what these fights do for people. What do you think of this fight, Carlos?
Bro, like honestly, the way before I saw your breakdown, I literally basically said what you said. I said that I basically see Conor Benn winning this fight of the weight for Eubank. I mean, it's not a weight disadvantage, but like, dude, that weight cut is gonna be fucking tough, man.
It's gonna be brutal.
And then he's gonna have to rehydrate only for 10 pounds, and at 157, Conor Benn's gonna pack extra power than he already has. And I even said literally 9th round TKO. I can even see a brutal KO if I'm being honest. I know Eubank has a good chin, and I don't usually see him getting hurt, but man, this one's gonna be tough for him, bro. I'm gonna be honest. Maybe Eubank can win, but I think Benn wins this one in my opinion.
I think for Eubank to win, he would have to land something early, and I do think he's. Like I said, I do think that maybe Benn gets hurt early in this fight, but I think he would have to land something where it like really changes the momentum, and Benn kind of like never doesn't recover or just kind of feels it throughout the rest of the fight. But I just think that the second half is just going to be really tough for him. And I tell you, he could fight two ways. He could fight the Roy Jones style, where he does like a mimic of Roy Jones style, which is very tiring because you're mimicking someone's style that's not natural to you. It's not really you trained your whole life. And when you're mimicking something, it's very tiring. It's like an actor that mimics a character. It's very tiring for him to act that way because he's doing things that are not natural to his body and his motion. That's exactly what it's like to fight like Roy Jones for him, the whole fight. And you've seen it in the Liam Williams fight, is when he acts like Roy Jones in the fight, he starts tiring and he starts getting very, very sloppy within the second half of the fight, doing all those.
Didn't he drop him like 4 times and he couldn't even finish him?
Yeah, he drops him. He does drop him. He does drop him. He drops him with the jab, draws him with the left hook. He drops him 2 times with the jab, I believe.
Jesus Christ. Yeah, and I was gonna ask, like, do you think this fight sells over or maybe like close to like 500,000 pay-per-views?
Oh, and over there, I'm not sure. Honestly, I'm not sure. I don't know like how I think it's a big fight. I think you could feel the buzz of it, and if I'm feeling it and we're feeling it, like we feel like this is kind of a big fight, then it must be a massive fight over there. And
dude,
I think that the promotion is excellent. I think the promotion's been very good.
I'm so fucking excited for this fight. I've been waiting for this one like ever since it got announced, man. Now that it's coming here, like, you know, I'm like, damn.
No, I am too. I'm excited for this fight too. And I think I know me and Broadway have been saying that Benn is he's a problem at 147, that he's a threat to a lot of guys. And
definitely
people probably don't want to, people are kind of fighting us against that. But like I said, it probably just the way that they interpret Benn when he was brought along and where he is now. It's hard to, when you see it, like they said, first impressions, right? Like it mean a lot to people. Once you see a guy a certain way, you kind of have a hard time calling him. Like Joe Joyce a while back was not considered a legit heavyweight contender. Like when Joe Joyce fought Daniel Dubois, it was supposed to be like really a Dubois showcase. Like it was supposed to be like Dubois graduating to the next level. Not a lot of people picked Joe Joyce in that fight. Daniel Dubois was the guy that was supposed to be like the next Anthony Joshua. He was the guy with the skill and the ability and the next great talent. And now look at people that are all high on Joe Joyce, right? And
they're saying that he could be Usyk.
Yeah, that's the thing. It took a while for them to get that image. It wasn't even after the Dubois fight that people thought that. It took really the Joseph Parker fight where it's like people finally are like, it's like mainstream now to be like Joe Joyce is a very good fighter. He's a tough challenge for anyone at heavyweight. But the Dubois fight, he was supposed to be, he was not, I'm telling you, he was, when he left like the PBC, he wasn't on PBC anymore. There was not like considered a great loss. When he fought Dubois, they were just considered like he was supposed to get smoked in that fight. Do you remember that fight, Broadway?
Yeah, I remember. I was really high on Dubois.
I'm not too down on Dubois now, but keep going.
I remember telling my dad, I'm like, yo, this was back when AJ was undefeated. I was like, yeah, this is the next AJ. And I remember putting on my dad about him. And I thought this was going to be his coming out party because after this, he was, I felt like, he was going to get his big opportunities after this. He was a young guy coming up. And hey, listen, he got stopped and he got his orbital bone broken. You can't ignore that. But to get circling back to what you were saying about Joe Joyce, he's somebody that I've never been impressed with, but he keeps winning. And at some point, you got to acknowledge what you're seeing, man. And
yeah, exactly. And it's hard to beat that image, though, right? Of you thinking like, it's something really special to this guy. It's hard to beat that image, and that's
it is, because I'm still having trouble looking at this dude as a serious opponent, a serious fighter.
Exactly, and that happens. It happens a lot. That's why it's like funny. It's funny when like you study all these fights, right? And you like these cards. Like there's some of these cards that like I understand people are like, why the hell? Like there's cards that I'll do like a live round scoring on Twitter, right? And people will be like, why the hell are you doing that? Like, no one gives a damn about this fight. And it's funny just because like when I do it though, it's just like you learn something, right? Like you take something from that fight and you're like, okay, I could apply that to another fight. Like there's something I learned from this specific fight, the way this went down, that you could learn from another fight. And it's funny, like when you're watching Joe Joyce, I picked Joe Joyce to win that fight versus Dubois, and I was surprised after I broke it down that I was like, oh, I think I have Joe Joyce going to win this fight. I think he's going to break him down with it because he could kind of take like a lot of shots, and I'm just curious like with Dubois style, right? But it was like I would never did that if I just was just like, oh no, I seen these two guys fight once or twice before, and I'm gonna go to Dubois. You know what I mean? I would have never did it if I didn't have broke it down like that. I never really deep dive like that. And that's what it takes though, like to shake this guy's image from you, because my first image of the guy was like you, like nothing impressive about him.
Yeah, I mean that. He's in the division with Fury and Usyk and Wilder, so he's gonna and AJ, so he's gonna have the opportunity to prove himself.
No, definitely.
Again, you get what I'm saying? It's not like he's like, oh well, you got to beat Vladimir Klitschko. You know what I'm saying? That's all that's left here back in 2012. No, there's some guys here. There's some hitters. There's some big guys just like you. And people saying you got this rock solid chin. All right, let's see you take a right hand from Wilder. Let's see you take an uppercut from AJ. Let's see if that chin is what it's made out to be.
That's like literally my dream matchup. I keep saying this is Joyce versus Wilder, and I just want to see that chin in that right hand meet. I want to see that chin. Be a good one. I want to see it meet. I want that picture in a poster form of just it meeting, and I want to know what the end result of that is because I don't know. I don't know what happens. I think that he takes it. I think that he eats it. I think there's two gifts in the heavyweight division. Two great gifts. It's Wilder's power and it's Joyce's chin. And I would just love them to face each other. Go ahead, Carlos.
Isn't he like 38 or 37, Joe Joyce?
So we did this last time me and Bravo because I thought they were a lot older, both of them. Wilder's 36 and Joyce is 37. So it's in heavyweights. That's not, it's older, but it's not like
I mean,
it's not like career ending. You know what I mean? It's not like
Luis Ortiz is like 50 years old, and he's still pretty good. So
stop that. I hate when people.
To be fair, Luis Ortiz's legs are like 106. I mean, come on, he has no legs anymore.
No,
you have to admit that.
Like, why when a Cuban fighter, people like to say that they older than they are, but like, what evidence do you have of like, what proof do you have of Cuban boxers doing this? There's no history of it. It's just pure racism.
Is it? Maybe, huh? Yeah, where does that come from?
Okay, so why are we not saying fucking Mexican fighters? Oh, he's older than what he is. Why is only Cuban fighters we do that?
I've always said that Mexicans can be like from between the age of 15 and 44, and you cannot tell. Like, there's easily could be a 15-year-old Mexican guy.
No, that's fine. You just saying how they look. I'm talking about why nobody accuses Mexicans of lying about their age, but they accuse Cubans of doing it.
Because Cubans come with no. Oh yeah, I know you're just joking, Carlos. But I think Cubans come with no paperwork, right? Like when they when they defect here, they don't have no paperwork. I think that's why. So you basically just say whatever age you want.
Yeah,
right?
But
like you say.
You don't think one or two fucking Cubans would have got Cuban boxers would have got caught doing that?
I mean, that's a good point. I never heard it. I just like you said, it's a stereotype.
It's racism, bro.
That's true.
It's racism.
I'm going to put Cuban boxer lies about age. Let's see what comes up. If it's Luis Ortiz's face, I might just laugh. Okay. Okay. So the what comes up is a baseball player.
Yeah. All right. One baseball player.
Yeah.
You know how many Dominican baseball players got caught faking their age?
Is there
nobody says nothing about them, and that's my own people. I'm just saying. Like,
don't throw a stereotype on.
Like let's not fucking be stereotyping, man. I hate that shit.
That's true. It's true. Like, and the thing is, like, everyone just kind of adopts that. That's true. Because like Cubans, that's always what you hear. You're like, I don't really know how old he is.
Yeah, there's this one fighter in the UFC, or used to be in the UFC. His name is like Yoel Romero.
Yeah, Yoel Romero. Yes.
And they always talk about how he's like 60, 70, but like he's like 40 years old, and he's actually a really good guy as well. So yeah.
It's funny that Yoel Romero is. They said that he has like muscles that like people don't usually have, and they said they did like a scan on his head. I think he got like in a fight, so they had to do like the scan after, or maybe like the pre-fight scan, whatever. And the doctor was saying that he has muscles around his eyes that you don't see basically in anyone. And he was like, they called like Dana White, and they were just like, dude, this guy's muscles that he has around his eyes, I've never seen before. Like, he just has muscles on top of muscles, basically. Have you ever seen Yoel Romero, Broadway?
Yeah,
the tank.
That those traps is insane.
It's insane. He's a freak of nature. And like when he was like in his prime in the UFC, I mean, he was scary. And like he didn't have great stand-up technique, but he was just so explosive. Guys did not want, like, Israel Adesanya basically played it safe with him in a stand-up fight where Israel Adesanya is like one of the best kickboxers in the world. He basically played it safe with him for the 5 rounds.
I remember seeing Romero knock somebody out. Some guy went for a takedown and he kneed him, and he timed it perfectly and knocked him out.
Yeah, Chris Weidman, an animal.
I think so.
Yeah, was that Weidman? Yeah, he was. This dude
Yeah.
is an absolute animal.
Yo,
Like
Nah,
when he
man.
fought, he was,
the reflexes you have to do that is insane.
well, yeah. The thing is too is like he was like an all-time great wrestler. And what happened was as he got older, I think his knees went. I think his knees weren't good anymore, like as he got older. So he stopped wrestling. Like he his number one thing that he was good at, he kind of stopped doing, and he was just so explosive still, even like diminished with his legs and everything, that he just became basically a stand-up fighter, and he was still very effective, like in the highest level of the UFC. Like that dude's like one in a lifetime type of physical ability.
All right, enough about UFC, man. Let's talk.
What's the next topic? Oh, okay, Fundora. What about Fundora this weekend? What are you guys' early thoughts?
First of all, fuck Fundora, man. We talk about Adames, man. Let's talk about.
Adames is a good fight.
Hey,
I'm
excited about that fight.
That's
bro.
a good fight. That's a good fight.
I'm
What's
gonna
your
watch
early
that too.
Broadway? As a Dominican, I'll give you first take on this one.
So I'm predicting Carlos Adames by stoppage, man. I have a $50 bet with Ty. TY
For the win or for the stoppage?
No, for the win.
Okay, because I was gonna say for the stoppage, that's gonna be hard. But for the win, I can see that. I'm favoring that.
Yeah, and I have a $20 bet with Polo, because Polo bet he hates Dominicans and he bets every time. Listen.
So does Polo hate Dominicans or does he just love Mexicans that much?
Nah, he loves Mexicans. I'm just being funny. But point is, I bet 20 with him. And I actually spoke with Carlos Adames' trainer the other day, and the conversation we had made me even more confident. It was just like, all right, man. I really like what he's talking about, Carlos, and I think Carlos is gonna really just dominate him and show out. And I think he's gonna get the stoppage to make a statement. And I actually posted on my Instagram. He said that he wants to fight after this fight. He either wants Charlo, Triple G, or Munguia. And when he wins this fight, he will have the WBC interim belt, meaning he will be Charlo's mandatory. Or if Charlo moves up, he will become the full champion. So meaning he will become like the email champ. But whatever. Point is,
that's a positive thing now.
Exactly, he will have a belt. And I'm super excited for this fight. And yeah, I again, Carlos Adames is, out of all the Dominicans, is the one I have the best relationship with. Me and him, we talk on the phone regularly, and from a personal standpoint, I'm really pulling for him.
So if Jamal does vacate that belt, which I have no idea what Jamal's going to do, but don't understand whether the Adames fight is interesting to him. But if he does vacate that belt, the number 2 would be Jaime Munguia, which you have to imagine he's not going to take the fight because he doesn't take any fight like that. So then the number 3, and I don't know what this weekend could do to this fight, but would be Chris Eubank Jr. Now, I would think that would be an appetizing fight for Chris Eubank, especially if he's looking to fight for a title. I'm trying to see where Eubank is in the rest of the rankings. This is the only one that he's number 5 in the WBA, but that's not going to happen. But so Chris Eubank versus Adames is a very interesting fight. I really like that fight. If Chris Eubank wins this weekend, though, I think if he loses, then that probably goes away.
Yeah, if he loses, though, my bad.
No, I agree. But what I think ends up happening is, let's say he becomes champion, Carlos Adames becomes. I think Triple G is going to vacate one of those belts. That will elevate Erislandy Lara to full champion at the WBA. So I think a unification match between them two is in line.
Which one are you talking about, Charlo?
No. If Charlo moves up, right, and Adames becomes full champion, I think Triple G is going to retire. To be honest with you,
you're saying Lara. I get
and then he'll unify with Lara. I think that's the route to have. That's what's next to happen. I'm not
now. What if Triple G takes a PBC deal and fights Lara?
Oh, that'll be interesting. Then maybe that'll be the unification fight. That's definitely a fight Triple G would take, because he'll look at Adames as an easy win.
So what if Triple G takes Lara? Jamal takes on Adames. Winners fight each other.
Oh, bro, that would be 3-belt unification, and I would love it, especially if it's Adames versus just Triple G, man. That would be like amazing for Dominican boxing because that means he'll have a common opponent with Canelo, and whatever juice Triple G's name would have if Carlos Adames was to beat him, I would love it, bro.
And then that would be PBC once again outmaneuvering Top Rank once again, because Top Rank is kind of hoping Golovkin just retires so they can get the IBF with Falcoa and Zarafa, just to get those 1 and 2. So they hope Falcoa wins that fight, and then they can match up unification with Janibek between their two guys. So if PBC can pull off Golovkin staying in boxing, fighting Lara, which is a winnable fight for him, and then fighting the Jamal, Adames winner is that's an excellent move. That's good business for them, for PBC.
I would love for it to work out that way. I like PBC better, anyways. Not that I root companies, but just in general, I like how they got all the.
Carlos, what do you think about the fight? Adames versus
Triple G?
No, Adames versus this weekend. What kind of was?
Oh yeah,
Montiel.
Yeah, bro. Adames is a beast. Obviously, I found out about him from Broadway Joel, and I watched some of his highlights. And yeah, that dude, he's pretty good, and I think he's gonna win this weekend as well. Stoppage, maybe. I'm leaning maybe towards more of a decision, but we'll see. I wouldn't be surprised if he gets the stoppage.
Yeah, I think I would be surprised if he gets a stoppage, honestly, because I know that Montiel's been stopped before, but if you've seen him against Charlo and the size that he's at, he can take a shot. Like he's a pretty tough guy. I think that Adames too is kind of more aware of he's more aware of like his fatigue and cardio and energy, and he's not trying to burn it. He's trying to be smarter with it. So I think he's gonna box, and I like the way he boxed against Derevchenko. I really like what I saw there, and I think that's going to continue in this fight. I think he's going to box. I think he's going to secure a win, and hopefully that sets up a fight with him and Jamal. I don't.
Jamal don't want that, bro. Jamal don't want to fight nobody that's good. I'm just being honest, bro. I'm being serious.
I don't know. I think he wants to get paid to fight someone that's really good. I don't think he's like avoiding fighting someone really good. I think he just wants to get paid correctly to fight someone really good. And I think that honestly, his management doesn't want him or Benavidez really taking a serious
definitely
fight.
Don't want Benavidez. I'll tell you that right now. You don't want Benavidez at all for sure.
I don't know. See, that part I don't know. Maybe not. Maybe he doesn't want Benavidez. I think that'd be a very tough fight for him. I really do think that'd be a tough fight. But I think for both of their managements are telling them Canelo fights around the corner. We really believe Canelo fights around the corner.
Smoke his ass. That's a good conversation, but I'm saying right now, Benavidez would smoke his ass. That's a different conversation, though. But yeah,
you think he stops him?
Hell, maybe not stops him. No, I think he stops him. But if he doesn't stop him, he'll just beat the shit out of him for 12 rounds, where he breaks all his orbital bones and everything.
I really don't think that Jamal will look good at 167 because I don't think he looks I don't think he looks like levels above at 160. So I think at 167, I think that'd be maybe like a little bit too much for him. But I do think that he's kind of like in a position where he either gets Canelo or you're gonna have to fight like Benavidez or Plant, one of them.
Yeah. I just don't think he wants to fight anybody else besides Canelo, so he can get that big payday. And
I don't blame him.
Fight the other guys.
Yeah,
of course. If you want to go after the money.
Why, bro? Why do you blame him?
Because look what happened to Andre's career, man. He's somebody who purposely didn't fight nobody, waiting on that Canelo fight, and it never came. And the same thing happened to Charlo. Same thing can happen to Charlo, man. Just because it makes sense Canelo could take you, don't mean he's gonna pick you. Look, he hasn't picked you yet. You were his mandatory, and he went franchise on your bitch ass. Now, and I'm not condoning that, by the way. I do think that was pretty much a bitch move by Canelo. But my point is, if you depending on one fight and you never get it, your legacy gonna be shit, bro. You already in your 30s. Fight the best up until you earn a fucking Canelo fight. Where Canelo start fighting the guys that Canelo would fight. Fight Benavidez. Fight Plant. Fight Munguia and Triple G and Andre, and fight all these guys, and then be like, all right, take out all the potential opponents for Canelo, where you could be like, hey, listen, I'm beating all these guys that people saying you should fight. I should be the one to fight you. You ran from me from vacating your title and doing all this, but depending on one fight is never good advice. Now you can strategically depend on it in a sense like, okay, let's just say you've been in communication with the team and they just want you to beat somebody else and then they'll guarantee you a fight or something like that. But waiting on one fight, it could ruin your career if the ball doesn't bounce your way.
Yeah, that's true. That's definitely true. I think he's in a better position than Andrade is because Andrade was on Matchroom and they were just kind of running out of options, right? And they could just kind of walk away from it. I don't think that people will ever walk away from Charlo. And I think that, both him and the thing is that he has a guy that's waiting with him, right? In Benavidez. And if that fight doesn't come for them, they could just turn around and fight each other. And I think that there's good money in that fight. I also think that, like I said, there's still Adames there. I still think that Triple G's an option. Lara's still an option. There's still some fights there. I wish he would just, to me, like as a fan, and maybe selfishly, I kind of just wish that him and Benavidez would just fight each other, or he would at least fight Plant. Like, I think that those are very interesting matchups. But,
bro, like, my bad.
Go ahead. No, go ahead.
Charlo just rubs me the wrong way, bro. I'll be honest. Out of all the boxers, I don't really dislike that many guys, but like, Jamal Charlo, I don't like that dude, bro. Like, not only is he a fucking duck, but his attitude is just wrong, bro. Like, I remember it's two different things. I saw like a video of a reporter trying to ask him, like, hey, when are you gonna fight like these guys? And like, I think he slapped the reporter. I was like, what the fuck is that? And then there's another video. He was like, oh, I'm not gonna fight you if you're not over the age of 25 and you're not vaccinated. I'm like, bro, what the fuck is that, bro?
He's not vaccinated, Benavidez. Yeah, I don't know.
This dude's
weird,
bro. Like, I swear, like, yeah, like, what the fuck is that? Like, I'm not gonna fight you if you're. Like, I've never heard anybody say that, bro. Like, the dude's.
Yeah, I think.
I mean, there's different things as well, like being a duck and not trying to fight the best. I don't like him.
Yeah, I mean, I understand those complaints about that, and that was weird. Like he was like saying that like Benavidez was too young to fight. He's not gonna fight anyone under a certain age, and there was like a few things that was like kind of weird.
He said that Benavidez had to be vaccinated for him to fight him.
Yeah,
no, yeah. I mean, he's 25 now, so fight him now.
Yeah, he said anyone under 25, correct? He wouldn't fight him either. Yeah, I don't know. Those, like I said, he says some weird stuff, but I'm just saying as far as like. Those fights are still there. There's still some, opportunity for him. They got to start making it happen for him. You know what I mean? He's definitely. I know that people always feel bad for Andrade, and it's similar comparison. I guess you're right, bro. With like that, he's kind of in similar same spot. At least in the middleweight division, there's not really much they can do for him, unless they get, like I said, Golovkin. But it looks like he's getting cornered to a point where it's like, if Canelo's not going to happen, you're going to have to go fight Plant. You're going to have to go fight Benavidez. You're going to have to make one of these fights happen.
Yeah, bro. We never got to the main event of Fundora versus
Ocampo. Yeah, I think that's an interesting fight. You have any early thoughts on it?
I think this is going to be a tougher fight than people expect. I think people are going to be surprised how much resistance Ocampo is going to give Fundora. I thought Fundora lost that fight against Sergio Garcia. So I think people are riding high off that win he had against Lubin. And I picked Lubin to win that fight. So, I mean, I definitely give him full credit. But I also didn't forget that fight against Sergio Garcia.
That's one that stays in my mind on this fight, too.
Yeah, Ocampo is a good fighter. A lot of people just remember him from getting knocked out by, what's his name? Errol Spence. And, yeah, it was a quick knockout. But Errol Spence has proved to be a good fighter. And currently the number one welterweight. So, I mean, he got knocked out by a guy who ended up becoming the number one welterweight. I don't think we should hold it that much against him. And he's done nothing but win since then. I think Ocampo is going to give Fundora a lot of resistance. And to be honest, the way I see this fight going to be a close decision where it could have gone either way, but more people feel Ocampo won, but they give Fundora the decision.
Ooh, controversy. I like it. What do you think, Carlos? What do you think of this fight?
Yeah, I'm probably leaning towards the same way. I think Fundora wins a close decision. Probably not like controversial. I think maybe like he takes a lot of the early rounds, but like I see maybe is it 12 rounds?
12. It's 12 rounds. You know what? Actually, that's a good question. Is it 12 rounds?
Yeah, it is.
Okay, 12 rounds fight.
Yeah, I see like probably 7-5, maybe 8-4, something like that. Fundora.
The thing is, Ocampo is he's good at a certain range. Like if you let him fight at his like mid range and at his own speed and pace, he's pretty good. He's strong too, and he's a little more skilled and craftier than what he looks like. Right? He looks a little like rough, little raw, and the way he's fighting, but he's craftier and more skilled than I guess what you would think. And Fundora, who was coming off, a great win, but a very tough win, a very fight that took a lot of durability until he was rocked at one point, dropped at one point. I think we were thinking that only Lubin took damage in that fight. That's like kind of like what we're feeling. And we don't know how much damage he really took or how he's feeling after that fight. And the Garcia fight stays in my mind because it was a fight that Fundora was trying to use a different style where he was being a little bit more defensive. He was trying to use his range. And I don't know if he was doing that because he was just trying to show that he has more, tools in the toolbox, or was he doing that because it's tiring to fight on the inside like that? Do you know what I'm saying? Like, you don't want to fight on the inside like that. You don't want to take all that kind of damage. And to go through a camp doing that and building that mentality, you might not be able to do it consistently. Guys that fight like that, they have a short run. You got to really, like, he has to fight for the title next. He can't just keep fighting like this because he's going to end up happening to Jared Hurd. He's going to end up happening to all these guys where they just finally can't take the shots anymore. They can't come forward like that anymore. And if he has anything in his that fights like he fights in the Garcia fight where he's trying not to take damage, he's trying to be a little bit more, use his reach and everything, he'll lose this fight. He will really lose this fight. He cannot fight at the range like that. He's not as good as Ocampo is in that range. I think if he applies pressure, he comes forward and he's using like, I'm going to break this guy, and he has that mentality coming into this fight, he will eventually break Ocampo. Right, Ocampo's not going to feel. He's going to really rush him. He's going to make Ocampo uncomfortable. But it's just really like, what is Fundora going to offer in this fight? Is he going to be Fundora, or is he going to try to be cute with it? And if he's be cute with it, he could get upset in this fight.
Okay,
100%. Yeah. I mean, he's 6'4", 6'5" in that weight division.
Yeah, he's 6'5", and Ocampo's not a small guy either, but he's smaller than Fundora, of course.
Pick is Fundora in a close fight.
I'm going to take Fundora. I think he's going to win wide because I think he'll win wide late. I think that he'll break down Ocampo in the late rounds where it's not even close, because Ocampo's not going to want to fight like that in the close. He's not going to want to fight that activity. But I think early it's competitive. I think Ocampo is going to land like decent shots in this fight, and I think the people, you have to be really careful. Like, be aware of this guy's power. He does have a power that it's heavy shots, thudding shots, and if he's landing consistently like on Fundora, he might be able to break Fundora himself. So it's like, I just think that he just won't be able to keep up the pace that Fundora is going to keep if Fundora has the right mentality.
Damn. Okay. Yeah.
But I'm interested in this card. Isn't there another fight besides?
Yeah, there's okay, so there's that fight. Then there's the rematch between Martinez and Ancayas. That's for 115 pound title. And then there's another fight. Mean Machine versus Mikael Fox. How can we forget that?
That's on the
YouTube portion.
Yeah.
Yeah, and that's an interesting fight. That's a damn good fight, actually.
I want to talk about that fight with Ancajas and Martinez first. Before
go ahead.
Man, I really like Martinez, man. I'm a big fan of his style in terms of payment value. Not saying he's going to be number one pound for pound.
Yeah.
Well, I'm glad I'm on your show, because you're actually somebody who, it's okay to be a fan of somebody who's not necessarily going to be the best fighter in the world.
Exactly.
I
encourage it. It's not even that it's okay. I encourage it. I want that to happen.
All right. So he's one of those guys where I think he's talented. I think he is going to make noise, but I also think that, he's very entertaining, and I came away really impressed when the first fight with him and Ancajas. I'm not sure why this rematch was necessary. I thought he won cleanly, but no, this is a fight. He's in a really stacked division. If he could get these two back-to-back wins against Ancajas, he's in position to fight any other top dogs. And
you have to think it's a contract thing, right? Why the rematch is happening? There had to be like a manager. A media rematch on it. Huh?
Yeah, I believe there was a rematch clause. I do think I read that somewhere. But the point is, he's in a hot division. He's entertaining. He's promoted by Marcos Maidana, so there's that effect to it. I'm excited as to what I can see from him coming up. I would love to see him and Bam. I would love to see how Bam reacts to somebody who's coming at him, pushing him around, and trying to make it a messy, ugly fight, and has no quit and has a good gas tank. I'm a big fan of this guy.
Yeah, I don't know what promotion he signed with, but I'm pretty sure that he's going to be able to, move around after this fight if he gets this win again.
He's with Marcos Maidana.
No, I know, but is there network ties? Is there ties like PBC? Because like PBC has this guy will be a promoter with him, but still tied to PBC. So I don't know if he's going to be able to move around after. I imagine he would be able to.
I mean, the thing is, he's PBC will be doing really bad business, because why would they hold him back? It's not like he's making them, billions of dollars.
No, that's true. But you never really seen Ankayas since he's been with PBC challenge any of the top 10 guys other than Martinez, who was kind of the one that was loose around. You know what I mean? He wasn't really. You never heard Ankayas he's gonna fight Bam or Chocolatito or Francisco Estrada.
I mean, he has a belt now, so
yeah, that's what I'm saying. I hope so. But I'm saying, because that division's hot. That division, I always say that this is the best division of boxing. Francisco Estrada, Gonzalez, Ioka, Bam Rodriguez, Martinez now, Franco. Which, if you listen to the Jake and Lefty show on Twitter every Saturday, I believe at 9 a.m. Western time. I don't know where everybody else.
11 a.m. Eastern.
Okay, so maybe 8 a.m. then here, 8 a.m. Western. But if you listen to that show, they give you great information. You will be informed on everything. But one of the things that was dropped slightly, you had to kind of pay attention to it, is a rumor of Franco, who is Bam's brother, fighting Ioka for the title, and that is a great fight, and that is number 5 and number 2 according to Box Live, which I think is, like I was saying, any of the top 10 here, they're great fights. They're just fantastic fights. So there's a rumor that one. So if he wins this and goes to, able to go to Matchroom and match with their guys, there's just, you could go pick anyone. There's going to be a great fight. It's going to be a war. So I think this is going to be an entertaining fight this weekend. What do you think of this, Carlos? Do you remember the first one?
I'll be honest, I don't really know too much about the fight you guys are.
Okay, yeah. No, it's when you see Ankayas, you'll know who he is, and you. Yeah, when you see them get in the ring, you might remember the first one, but the first one was Ankayas was a long reigning champ, and then this guy comes in, takes his belt, and that's the way that this division is. This division, if you get outside top 10, they're still very tough. It's just one of those divisions. It's just a deep division. And then what was the other one we're talking about? Oh, Mean Machine, Broadway. Oh, go ahead, sir.
That fight, the rematch you guys are talking about, that's also going to be on the Zone, or
no, that's going to be on the Showtime. It's going to be on Showtime. It'll be on Showtime undercard with the Thunder.
Yeah, I'll definitely tune into that one too.
Oh yeah, it's going to be good. It's going to be very good. What do you think of the Mean Machine and Miguel Fox?
I mean, I'm biased.
Of course,
Michael Fox gave me an interview, so I'm definitely rooting for him. Mean Machine could crack, man. You know what I'm saying? And but he's coming off a loss, right? I haven't seen him.
He's coming off a Virgil Ortiz loss.
I haven't seen him since then, so I'm assuming that he's coming off a loss, a knockout loss too. But Michael Fox is coming off a long layoff. I don't know how that affects his body and stuff like that, but I'm not going to give a prediction because I got a relationship with Michael, and no matter what I say, if I pick against him, it's kind of bad for the relationship, and if I pick him, people are going to say I'm biased. So I'll just say that it's going to be a close fight.
So I think, like I said, I'll be rooting for Fox too, because I don't really know him as well as you do, but we did see him get robbed horribly. One of the worst robberies you will see in boxing. The judge that did rob him was found to have racist, anti-black propaganda, I guess, on her Facebook or Instagram, one of those things. And and she was the judge in his fight, and the fight that he clearly won. I don't think you can find any one person that says that he lost that fight. And he kind of just after that kind of was just stuck with not getting an opportunity. And he got this fight, and I think this is actually a really great opportunity for him. I think Mean Machine has some name notoriety, especially because he fought Virgil Ortiz and Terrence Crawford and gave them both, competitive fights until the point where he got stopped. I think that Mean Machine's very interesting, especially on the PBC side, because he's also a good measuring stick for a guy like Terrence Crawford, for a guy like Virgil Ortiz, because he was tough in those fights, but you don't really know how good he is. And it'd be interesting to see him against like mid-level competition on PBC. I think Michael Fox is a very good first opponent for him. I hope Michael Fox wins, and I don't hope for a lot of people to win fights, but I do hope Michael Fox wins a fight. I didn't really break it down to say like who, the way I see it playing out. I just think Mean Machine's a very tough opponent. I think that he is almost to the point where he's kind of underrated right now on how good he is. If Michael Fox does pull this out, he might be able, and I think he won the last fight too. He might be able to be, go on a little run here at 147 pounds. So I'm curious to see how, how this fight looks and what goes on after it, because I think it's interesting if either guy wins.
I hear you saying how good Mean Machine is. Is he a notable win on Crawford's resume?
No, he's not. He's not a notable win, but he might turn into one. He might turn into one if he goes and starts going to run on PBC and starts beating guys. He could turn into one.
Nah, I'm just messing with you.
Oh, that's funny. Have you ever seen you familiar with Mean Machine, Carlos?
I've only seen the Virgil Ortiz fight, and that was a pretty good fight, obviously, until Virgil stopped him. But if I had to base that fight, I've never seen the Michael Fox dude, but how you guys are describing it, I'd probably lean towards the only person that I've only seen fight, which is Mean Machine.
Yeah, I get you. Yeah, Mean Machine. What that Broadway? Go ahead.
No, I was saying that makes sense. If you never fight, you pick the guy you've seen fight.
And Mean Machine has skill, man. He does. He has power. He's not a bad fighter. Like he's not like one of those guys where it's like, oh, he's a no name who like they just needed to keep Terrence Crawford busy. Maybe they thought that when they put him in there, but then he proved to be something a little bit more than that. And against Virgil, he proved the same thing. He rocked Virgil at one point in that fight.
And he
dropped him, and it's like. He just losing to the like maybe the best guys in the division. You know what I mean? So like it's tough to say like, oh, he's not good. It's like, well, he's losing to the best guys in the division. You know what I mean? But if maybe that mid level, like I said, like a Jamal James, Stanionis, Butev, I would like to see him fight those type of guys. I would like to see. I think that if he wins this weekend, he's an interesting guy for like what's it, Alice? What's his first name? Am I thinking of?
Who?
Rashidi Alice. I think he's an interesting opponent for Rashidi Alice. I think he's an interesting opponent for possibly Boots. You know what I mean? Like he's that guy. That could be matched. I think he's a very interesting guy for PBC to have because he could be matched very interesting with their opponents, with the guys they have.
Yeah, man. Just keep him away from Elvis Rodriguez if he moves up.
I don't think I've ever done anything with you, probably, where we talked where Elvis Rodriguez wasn't brought up.
Hey, man. Listen, I'm the voice of Dominican boxing. I brought up Garcia, Carlos Adames, and now Elvis.
Do you realize though? So you see me though, right? The welcoming that I am. That I started off the first topic here. What was my first topic today? It was the Hector Garcia's career and how today benefited him, right? And I gave you the first 30 minutes on it. You know what I'm saying?
That's why I come on your show, because you're a Dominican safe place, and so
and I never even questioned their age. Like not once was I like, is Hector Garcia really that old? You know what I mean? I never questioned his age once, and I could have. I thought it a few times. I was like, how old is he? Really? You know what I mean?
Sure.
But the guy from the Boxing Voice, what's his name? The main guy?
Nestor Gibbs.
Is he Dominican?
He's Dominican, yes. Yo, Dominicans, we run YouTube boxing. But guys,
yeah, he gave Dominicans less time on his show than I do. I just want that to be known right now. He was very negative about the whole situation. He was downright, honestly, like borderline stereotypical of what Dominican boxers are. You come here and the Ezra podcast, right? And Ezra Live, and you see nothing but Dominican love here.
No,
and
it's funny, right? You know what's funny? You don't know how many phone calls I got from that interview. Like, yo, what the fuck? Well, who the fuck is this guy? And this, that. And some people who knew him was like, yo, fuck that guy. I'm like, damn, man. I'm like, it kind of like, I don't want to say too much because this is live. But point is, a lot of people were upset at how the interview went. But I'm like, hey, listen, I ain't say it. Like I was out there. I'm the one giving Dominicans the most love. Like,
oh, let me tell you something. It was negative towards Dominicans on that podcast. It was that one. I was pretty eye opening. I thought
I was getting phone calls from people. You've seen the people I've had on my show. So
yeah.
Like I'm well connected, and I'm not going to say who was calling me, but I've had multiple people call me being upset with how the interview went. I'm like, hey, listen, man, like this is like I look at my interviews as like collecting history. Like I picture my grandson picking up my videos and going, oh shit, he interviewed this guy from the Boxing Voice, and this guy from the Boxing Voice is this big YouTuber. He's the biggest boxing podcaster. So
yeah, without a doubt.
So I look at it like that, like, oh, so when Dominican boxing was on the rise, there was the biggest boxing podcast. The host was negative on him, and and we'll see how history treats that. If history is gonna favor him and be like, hey, listen, that little rise was just a blip in the radar, and we went back to being trash, then he'll end up being right. But if Elvis becomes what I think he's gonna be, Michelle becomes what I think he's gonna be, Hector Luis Garcia continues his run, so on and so forth. It's too many just to name. But if these guys keep continuing being what I think they're gonna be, history will prove him wrong, and I'll have him back on the show and be like, hey, listen. And I told him on the show, listen, I'm gonna clip that video of you saying this about X fighter, or you saying this about Y fighter, and we're gonna reassess in 2-3 years. I told him that on the show. So this is not me talking behind his back. This is me telling him what I told him on the show. Hey, listen, we're gonna see if if in 2-3 years they end up becoming bums, never become champion, I'll have him back on the show and tell him, yo, bro, you were right, and I was wrong. And,
yeah,
but we'll see. We'll see
how that plays out. But just I just want people to know that Ezra is a friend to the Dominican.
Nah, bro, you were the one who gave me the nickname, the voice of Dominican boxer. Do you remember that?
Yes, I remember that.
Yeah, bro,
I remember
that shit's pretty. That's a pretty hard ass name, bro.
And it stuck.
Bro,
and it turned into something beyond sticking. It turned into something bigger.
Yeah, I'll forever
bro.
be grateful. I'll forever be grateful. I'll be honest with you. It's something that I never thought it would get to the point where it is, where I got people DMing me. I got people contacting me, thanking me, like, bro, thank you so much for what you're doing for us. Yo, I can never get boxing information, Dominican information from Dominican boxers, and it's like, and all this fell on my lap, and then they just started getting all these upsets.
Dude, it was a perfect. I told you, like, sometimes things are just like perfect timing. This is literally the perfect timing.
Yeah,
and I look at like I said, look at we talking about Hector Garcia. Like, he could literally be undisputed. This is not out of the realm of of reality or a possibility.
Yeah. If
he could be undisputed.
If he stays in the division 2 years, he can easily become undisputed. If the balls bounce the right way.
And you're the guy that told me about Dominican boxing, but not only that, you told me always are telling me about the ballots and undisputed. The fact that you would get both together is almost insane. Your head might explode. I'm literally afraid for your head. It might explode. That might be too good of news for you.
And the good thing about Hector, like, the best relationship I got with the Dominican boxers is definitely Carlos Adames by a long shot. Me and Carlos, like I honestly look at him as a friend at this point. But the second I want to say is Hector. Me and Hector got a really good relationship. He picks up the phone every time I call. He answers. The only thing is, like, when the whole negotiation between Gutierrez and him were going on, excuse me, this dude, I can tell you, he was never gonna snitch. He was giving me the runaround and running around and, like, giving me these half answers, and, like, so. But I get it. He's under negotiations, and I'm a journalist at the end of the day. But no, me and him, we got a really good relationship. So if he could become undisputed, oh man, that would be amazing for my channel.
Yeah, man.
Yeah, it's a
Yeah, bro, it was
possibility.
pretty cool. Yeah, like I was there whenever you were called the boxing guru, and now all this shit. It's pretty cool, bro. So
Yo, Carlos,
definitely.
Carlos been with me from the start, bro.
I like
Oh
it.
yeah,
I
Yeah,
like
yeah,
it.
yeah.
Carlos is loyal, and then now Carlos, I see him on my channel every time I pop up. So now I'm glad
yeah,
you
bro.
jumped on, Carlos. I'm glad you
Yeah,
jumped
bro.
on.
Just like anytime I get to just talk about boxing, or even if I don't know like a lot of the fighters and shit, just like getting to talk about like boxing, or like hearing you guys, what you guys think about these fights. It's always like I like watching that. So nah, for sure,
All right,
man.
Carlos,
Hey,
I'm gonna
oh,
put
go
you on
ahead.
the spot, Carlos. I'm gonna put you on the spot, and there's no wrong answer. Nobody will get offended. What's your favorite boxing channel? And it don't have to be either of us. I just want to know.
Like between you two.
Yeah,
No, between everyone.
yeah.
I mean,
On
like
YouTube.
I don't really like. I'll be honest. Like you guys are like the only ones that I really watch. Like I'm just being honest. I mean, I tried to like getting into like watching the Boxing Voice whenever I saw you guys' podcast. But I mean, obviously, I'm gonna have to say it's you Broadway because like you're like one of the only ones I really found out about. But Ezra, like I see a lot of your videos too, bro, and like I fuck with your videos as well because you also talk about UFC and like I know more about UFC if I'm being honest. But like, yeah, it's pretty cool, man.
And if you ever want to look up the boxing rant, look that up and just know that I ended their podcast. That see what happened to the boxing rant is that they got arrogant, right? That they were doing this and no one was really challenging them, and they were having negative opinions about boxing. And then I get on Twitter, right, and I call them out and I say, "You guys are negative about boxing, and I don't really like the way you attack it, right?" And they started attacking me and started saying that, "Oh, you're nobody. You're just a guy with a microphone." And I told them, "I go, I might be a guy with only like 5 viewers, right? But my content is better than yours, and I would willing to have you on, or I'll go on your thing. We can do this." And you know what they do? They pack up and go home. They end their boxing rant. They don't
Yeah,
do
bro.
cover the boxing anymore. And you know what they do now? They do social satire. Right, they do social satire. They talk about the Oscars. They talk about things because they weren't talking boxing anymore because they knew that people like me and Broadway were coming and we were bringing the heat. And it wasn't no more like I'm talking about something so obscure that no one's ever going to challenge. It was like, no, the competition.
Yeah, fix the mic, bro.
And
Yeah, I didn't really hear what you said.
they packed up and went home. That's what they.
Yeah, bro.
You know what's funny?
What they did.
And I don't want to make it seem like I'm talking shit about people, but this is you just reminded me of a conversation that happened on a Twitter space. I was going back and forth with the Diggs brothers, and I think it was Ray. I don't remember which brother it was, but I'm pretty sure it was Ray. It could have been Rich, but it was Ray. I think he was like, I don't know who you are. Like I don't follow your YouTube channel. I'm not subscribed. Like I like, who are you? Like he was basically like we were debating something. And he was basically saying like I'm a nobody because you know I'm very confrontational. If I feel like I have a point. You know me, Ezra.
Yeah.
So it was one of those situations where they were trying to dismiss my opinion, and I was like not having it. And so I just remember him saying that, and I said, "Don't worry, in a year you'll know who I am." And like it hasn't even been a year, and like the impact I've made is like very significant.
It's
He
those,
definitely know who the fuck you are now.
it's those little things like because like like we talk to everyone and we're cool with everyone and stuff like that, but it's those little things, even like might not be towards that person personally or whatever it is. It's just those little things you hear and like that, they keep you motivated. And some people will pack it in from that stuff and they'd be like get negative because it's easy to get negative on yourself when you do stuff like this or take some chances like this. But when you keep pushing through and persevering, and maybe someone told you something like that, you can just kind of keep falling back on that and using that to motivate you. And like I said, look where you're at now. Like there's not a person on boxing Twitter that doesn't know the voice of Dominican boxing. I'm just sorry, there just isn't. There just, if you're on boxing Twitter, you know who the voice of Dominican boxing is.
Sometimes I hop on these spaces and I'm like, oh shit, I definitely want to talk about Canelo. Let's say I'm making something up. Let's say I'm like, damn, I want to talk about this Canelo fucking controversy or whatever. That his fight coming up. I hop on the space and I'm waiting for my turn to talk. And Hitman or fucking Clever or somebody would be like, hey man, so what's up with Hector Luis Garcia? Like, what's up with Michelle Rivera? And I'm like, oh, like y'all motherfuckers want to talk Dominican boxing? Like, like they almost like kind of like how you did. They almost like set the floor for me. Like, no, Joel's here, man. Like, yo, like let's talk Dominican boxing for a little bit. Like I almost feel like I never wanted to make the space about myself, but I definitely feel like a lot of people, as soon as I hop in, they'll make sure that all right, let's talk a little bit. Let's talk about a little bit what he wants to talk about. Even though I'll be like, damn, I wanted to talk about Fury, or I wanted to talk about, Luis Alberto Lopez, or whatever. So that's definitely I've noticed a difference of shift of how people treat me as soon as I get in the space. And it doesn't happen all the time, but it happens enough where I notice.
Yeah, and that's cool. And it's cool because you're bringing attention to, like I said, Dominican boxers. So you're doing exactly what you were kind of shooting out to do. You know what I mean?
For sure, bro. Like, yo, I knew I was making a huge impact when I interviewed the Dominican Olympic coach, and I got his story of how he became the Olympic coach and how he was the coach of the junior national team, and then he got elevated to the national team just this past Olympics. And he was telling me how he had this heavyweight who was 21 years old, and he said, he's like, don't worry, give me 3-4 years and you guys are gonna have a really good heavyweight in your hands. And like shit like that. Like if this heavyweight becomes like a gold medalist in the next Olympics and a heavyweight world champion, I got the Dominican Olympic coach telling me about him before he's even a pro.
Yeah.
You get what I'm saying? So it's like, and he's telling me everything he did and how he got to Dominican Republic, and I'm like, okay, I'm doing something more than just I'm documenting a time in history where Dominican boxing is changing, and I'm getting it at its infancy. And
yes.
And as Dominican boxing goes, so will I.
Yeah, definitely. And like I said, you cover everything, so like it's not even like that's for sure. You're bringing a lot of attention to that. But you like I said, you can talk anything. We talked everything today. That's what I like too about it. It's wide ranging. That's why I think that on the Boxing Voice, I think that they had maybe a misunderstanding of what you did, and that's why I always kind of bring that too, because like people might try to put you in like a corner and be like, oh, it's just what this guy does. It just covers this one specific thing. No, he's an expert on that point, and he's got more information on that than probably most anyone else to cover in the sport. But he covers everything in the sport, so that's good to get that out there too, just so you know, well-rounded.
For sure. I mean, I as of late, to be honest, I've been documenting a lot of Dominican, just only Dominican as of late. Although I did have that the Skills podcast the other day, but no, for the most part, man, like I cover everything. I talk about everything. Then my interviews though are mostly just Dominicans.
Yeah. Well, it's dope. I like I like the definitely the direction you're going right now, man. I appreciate you hopping on today. Like I said,
I know you ending it. No, go ahead, bro.
Oh no, I was just saying, like I said, the Mondays are now the Ezra live days. You know why? Because that fits Broadway's schedule. That's Broadway's. That's big time Broadway right there. You like, hey, but this fits my schedule. It's like, oh, okay, well then let me start doing lives today. You know what I mean? That's that big time right there. That's that big time right there.
No, but before you drop me and the live, I just want to say, man, I'm proud of you, man. You
thank you.
You still doing your thing. You have unique takes, and you're not scared to fucking stand on your own too and defend them, whether it be on Twitter, whether it be on a space, or whether it be on your YouTube channel. And never change, bro. And just know you always support. You're always gonna have my support. You're somebody. Again, you get the nickname Voice of Dominican Boxing, and again, there's a reason me and you still have a relationship, and it's not just I see potential in you, and all you got to do is just continue to keep grinding, and stay true to you, and trust me, you'll blow up, man.
Hey man, I appreciate it. And like I said, I appreciate you taking the time to hop on the space, and Carlos, you too, man. I appreciate it. I appreciate you listening. I appreciate you hopping on.
Bro, for sure.
Anyone that listens, honestly, like anyone in the comments or listening right now, you can hop on whenever. Like, even if you feel like Carl said, sometimes like I don't know what fights you guys are talking about or whatever it is. Don't be like, I'm not gonna be like, I know that some pages will do that to you. I know some YouTubers will do that to you. I know some Twitter accounts will do that to you. They'll try to put you down. They'll try to be like, oh, you're not this or whatever. I ain't doing that. If you don't know someone, then just say you don't know no one. I'll fill it in the story from that point.
Like, I'm man enough to admit, like, I'm kind of a casual when it comes to boxing, but I still like seeing all the other fights and like
Are
seeing, you know,
are
your
you
guys' perspective.
are you a
know?
fan of it, right?
What do you mean?
Carlos, you're a fan of boxing, though, right?
Yeah, I'm a
Just
fan
the
of
sport.
boxing. For sure.
That's all that matters. To me, that's all that
Yeah.
matters. That honestly matters. To me, I'm trying to talk to, and I don't even really think you're a casual, because if you take the time to listen to me and Broadway,
Appreciate
there's
it.
no damn way you could be a casual to listen to boxing. Okay, the casual
Oh, yeah.
does not take the time to listen to a podcast about boxing. Okay, so that to me, I think that term gets thrown around too lightly now. But I want to reach everyone. If you have just the slight knowledge of boxing, listen to my podcast. I'll fill you in on the rest. And that's
Sure,
what
man.
the thing. So and anytime you want to come on your Carlos, don't be afraid. Like, I don't know these guys. Just be like, get on here and be like, I don't know these guys. Now, this is my opinion on something, or what do you guys think about this situation?
Yeah.
I'll answer it. And I know Broadway will too. Like, I have no problem with that. And I don't want people that are listening to be like, oh, I couldn't talk with this. Yes, you could. You definitely could. And then especially on MySpace, you could. I know other people, like I said, they want to be right, or they want to put people down to make themselves feel. That's not what this is. Okay, this is to bring attention to the fighters, the fight this weekend. This is to bring attention to the sport that I love, and to bring attention to the sport that I followed my whole life. I'm not trying to, like I said, I love being right, but I'm not trying to put people down to boost my ego. And listen, I only have about 3 or 4 or 5 consistent viewers. Ain't no ego being boosted here. So I just want to give the knowledge out.
Yeah, all right, Carlos, but don't call up my show not knowing no Dominican.
Nah, bro. At this point, I know all the Dominican fighters, bro. I see you all the
true.
time. I already know. I only found out about all them through you, bro. I know these dudes, man.
I'll be honest with you. Like, I only know probably 25% of the Mexican fighters. I know 100% of all the Dominican fighters that are.
Yeah, bro. At this point, I know all the Dominican fighters, bro.
All right, guys. Hey, I appreciate you guys coming on. Follow Broadway Joe. Broadway, you want to do a little quick, where to find you at?
On Twitter @_Broadway Joel, on Instagram Broadway Joel, and definitely go hit the subscribe button on my YouTube channel Broadway Joel.
Carlos, thank you for coming on, man. I appreciate it. Like I said, anytime. And I'm gonna put this thing behind me. Where you can find me at Ezra Podcast on YouTube. Of course, you're watching me, so just hit the subscribe and the like. I'm also on Apple. I'm also on Spotify. So if you listen to like you just audio only, hop on there, and my Twitter. Thank you guys for joining me. Peace out.
Peace.
Yeah.